episode, get everybody in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, guys.
We are live here on the Facebook and YouTube and Twitter. Of course, we're not quite going to get started yet. We're going to get started and let everybody kind of come in and say hello. So if you're watching the playback of this, hello. For the audio listeners, well, they're not hearing this because I'm going to edit this out. So, yeah. But for our video listeners, hello.
Hello.
So, welcome. As we get people in, I'll also explain this probably.
Sorry, I'm hearing volume stuff. You go ahead, talk. I've got to fix roommate issues.
Sounds like
again.
Both Kelly and I are coming live from our respective basements. I am on the road for work, and so I am staying at a house for this work. So I am in a basement, and so is Kelly. But mine is bland white walls, while she's got the colorful background behind her. So we'll also acknowledge that when we get to the main part of the episode. So we already got some comments. We got Ryan saying hello, and SoFlo saying hello to Kelly and Zach. SoFlo was on last night, so hello to you guys.
Hi, guys.
Of course, we had a good Spidey experience last night. We got caught up on. Have you read Sinister War yet?
I have not, because I just got paid today, so I need to read it over the weekend because I wasn't able to do that.
Yeah, I understand.
Over the break, let's see. I had a huge tumble and ate concrete, which was something I was going to say last week. So I had a busted lip, had to go to the doctor, make sure I didn't have a concussion. Might have had a mild one, but I mean, when is that not a Tuesday for me? So I had gotten pretty banged up, and that happened, and then something happened. I don't know if it was the heat or if something hit my windshield during the rain or what happened, but I had to replace my windshield. So I'm having that Parker luck of moving stuff around until I got paid.
I understand. So we've been waiting for our direct deposit yet, so I haven't gotten paid yet. So it's like, no, please pay me. Plus, my wife got a job in Houston, so we're trying to figure out the logistics while I'm up here in Nebraska, and it's just been a crazy time. So good news, yay! There'll be a new office set up whenever I get back down there. But yeah, no, my Parker luck was that I am not used to humidity. And I am working in very humid conditions here in Nebraska. And yeah, I almost had a heat stroke Friday. So that was my week last week. So it was bad. But I'm okay. It was just heat exhaustion. It wasn't heat stroke. But yeah, so if you're out and about and you're working outside, you'll also notice I'm much more tan than last time you probably saw me. And that's because I have these weird farmer's tans now because I wear gloves for work all the time. Now I have my hand is painfully white, but my arms are yeah, I'm still dirty. I hadn't had a chance to shower before we got started.
Oh no, it's fine. We had a day of no AC here. That's if you see me do this, because definitely came back to some fruit flies on an orange, and they're still here.
Oh.
I'll fix it. It's fine. It'll be fine.
She will, yeah. Welcome to the flatlands where humidity hates you. Yes, Ryan. He's up in I think he's up in Illinois, I think. But yeah, no. See, I'm from West Texas, where it's a dry heat. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. So we got 7 people. And Vinkman says, oh, it's magic, That is the wrong show, Vinkman.
That is the wrong show.
That would be CSC, not this. Hello. All right, so yeah, we got 5-6 people watching us right now. Got already a love. Thanks for the love. A reaction on Facebook. So if you're watching us on Facebook, let us know.
Yeah. Say hi.
Because when I touch normally I just take my mouse and I click it, but when I touch it, it doesn't work. So I'm going to stop touching it.
Be good. Don't.
Yes.
Look. All right. It's a very, very important episode today.
Yeah, we are
season of the Serpent Day.
Yeah, this is a very pivotal moment. We've been talking a lot about like near cancellations and the stories and stuff like that, and it's kind of been building towards this. We kind of briefly talked about it a couple episodes ago about issue 50, but issue 61 was supposed to be the end. Now we're covering everything up through 60 tonight, but we got to obviously talk about that near cancellation that occurred. So if you're going to follow along with us, I've got my volume 10 digest now.
Awesome.
Okay, so I was having a hard time seeing this on my phone, Kelly. So on that other
Mhm.
story, what was the potential of it going through? Was it going through Season of the Serpent, or was it going through Mark for Death?
What do you mean?
The issue numbers.
Oh, we're going to 60. So it's 54 through 60
Right.
because
Yes.
there wasn't any way for us to start with 60 and then go on to Mark for Death.
Right.
It didn't make sense.
Right.
Because
No.
60 is more of the aftermath of Season of the Serpent.
Mhm.
So that's the issues today.
No. Not the issues we're covering. I was talking about the issues in the volume 4 because I couldn't pull that image that you sent me up.
I have no clue. That
Okay.
we'll talk about that when we start this and start on the news, because I have some questions on that, since I can't really find the SKU number doesn't pull anything up right now, like anywhere. So so that's why I'm kind of
right.
So yeah, let's go ahead and start recording.
Yeah, let me get
Hopefully the
the
sound background noises and stuff will stop by then. I hope. Sorry guys. And then we'll try and go for it.
Open.
Yeah.
So that way. All right. No. Yep. All right. Good. So I've got this. Okay. So I'm gonna go 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Make Mine Mayday, the show all about Spider-Girl and the MC2 universe. I'm Zach Joyner, your friendly neighborhood webmaster, and we are back for season 2 of this show. Of course, I am never alone on this show. I am always joined by Miss Kelly McDaniel. Kelly, welcome back.
Hi, I know, I'm excited. I was like ready to go last week. I miss Make Mine Mayday. I missed talking to everybody and talking Spider-Girl. Yeah,
that was completely my fault last week. Trying to get everything unpacked and set up here, and my setup was just not there yet. So it was very stressful. But last week was a very stressful week. This week was a stressful week, but it's entirely different stress. So yeah, we're back. And we're rocking and rolling back into our weekly schedule. And so I am excited to be back here.
We are recording on a new day. We are recording on Thursdays.
Yes. So as we announced on the birthday episodes, I announced it also last night on Spider Dude Experience, but we are going to start recording on Thursdays. So hopefully that'll bring us some more people instead of Fridays, where we've got a lot of streams going on too. So
yeah,
we really enjoyed doing that Thursday episode. So now we are officially doing Thursdays from now on. So yeah, Kelly, let's talk some news.
Yeah. I mean, there's not a lot of news. I did see some upticks. A lot of like I guess they're the comic Twitter influencer people. Like they're known for kind of like if they're reading something and they talk about it, it kind of blows up a little bit because they're got a ton of followers, and that's all they do is just read and review comics. And so a couple of them started reading Spider-Girl and MC2. I don't know if it's because they're getting ready for like maybe they think she might be in Into the Spider-Verse. I don't know if it's because like what we talked about last episode during the mini-sode about the 4chan links or leaks about potential situations in No Way From Home. But they started reading it. So there was a little bit of an uptick. It's interesting. I'm excited to see it and hear it. So that's fun. Just kind of seeing people read it for the first time. But I'm wondering if maybe because of that slight uptick, we saw this repost of a blog. I don't know if it was just coincidence or what, but
Right.
Frogoat and Ryan sent me a blog post on July 7th from Tom Brevoort about how much he loves Spider-Girl 51 and how the fans just give it just unneeded, unwarranted crap. And I mean that's really not news as much as it was just weird that everyone kept sending it to me. Going, hey, did you see this? Did you see this? Because one, it wasn't new. Because at first when it looked at it, I was like, why is he talking about this now? But it's not new. It's some repost, but I get what he's saying. However, I think he's not understanding that a large part of the issues we had, beyond just it just didn't fit right, was there is a very steamy, pun intended and not, of a 15-year-old girl in a shower. And that's disgusting. And he can sit there and say how great this issue is all he wants. That's his opinion. But what that sounds to me is that he's sexualizing a teenage girl. And that's not cool. But, you know, I don't think that it was that deep either. It's just the issue did not age well. Come on. And honestly, it was wrong during that time, too. Like, that scene is inappropriate. Period. You know, so that's kind of my thing on it. Don't know how you felt about the blog post. I'm sure that people sent you that link too.
I did not get the link sent to me, but that's okay.
Just me.
But I didn't see it. But I think I remember reading it because like Frogoat and I have gone back. We go back a long way.
Yeah.
Like to the message board days, and so you know, he's one of my. He was always one of my favorite posters. Just because he was always so insightful, and then we got to know each other, and he's done some work on the site before too. Yeah. So you know, I've always held his opinion in very, very high regard. So whenever he made that post initially, I had forgotten about it. I think I remember it being discussed on the Spider-Girl message board back in the day.
I mean, it's from an old blog. Like I think it was just random coincidence that we had just talked about it 2 episodes ago.
Right.
And then it popped up, and I think that's why people were sending it to me, but I don't think that it was that deep.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Like, I think, because I know Frogoat does go back and listen. He does comment on our shows, you know, because obviously he lives in Australia, so the time zone difference is pretty massive. So I completely understand why he might have sent that to you, because maybe you hadn't seen it. So it's a good thing, but yeah, it was kind of random. So yeah, there was a lot of news on the break, but then we got some volume 4 news. Kelly?
Yeah.
So kind of talk about that, and then I'll kind of expand upon it if you want me to.
Yeah. So sorry. Texting roommates, fixing background sound issues. But yeah, so we have some volume 4 news, maybe, possibly. We'll see. But one of the more recent awesome fan artists, Levito99, aka Fitty, sent me a link about upcoming. It's like this website that does upcoming trades and stuff. Like, it just shows you, like, hey, this is what we're seeing down the pipeline. And right. Spider-Girl, the Complete Collection Volume 4 is there. There is a SKU number. There is, showing the page count, showing the release date, which is showing April 5th, 2022. Now, I looked up the SKU number just because I was like, ooh, SKU number? Like, does that mean I can pre-order? And it's nowhere to be found anywhere, and I couldn't like even pulling the SKU number into Google wouldn't even pull that website up, which I thought was strange.
That is weird.
So I don't know, and that's why like right now I would say take it with a grain of salt. However, a lot of your trade collectors, like your global trade collectors, they do use that to kind of get ready for it, but it's not yet in the solicit. I don't know, maybe it'll be in next, like at the end of this month, maybe in August. Because I think last time the pre-orders started in August. So
yeah, I think and that's, Amazon, sometimes they get their stuff 6 months ahead of schedule instead of 3 months ahead of schedule. So we'll be definitely checking Amazon out when we get more information. I wouldn't be surprised, given that it'll been a full year since volume 3 came out.
Yeah,
And they were kind of doing a yearly release schedule. I wish it would be more than a year. But I mean, at that point, I think if to make it fit, because they've been about 15 to 17 issues thick, I think that they're probably going to get both all the issues we're covering tonight, but also
we're halfway. We're halfway. So volumes 1, 2, and 3 went 250. So I'd say there'd be 6 volumes for all 100 issues.
Yeah.
So
I would think
about
that
20.
Yeah, I would think that on this one, if they do it, maybe they do through 67, because 100 was a triple sized issue, if I'm remembering correctly. So you can that kind of pads the page count a little on the inevitable volume and theoretical volume 6. So you get everything through Marked for Death, and then it kind of slows down a little bit in terms of the 6-issue arcs, which we'll talk about too.
Yeah.
I'm going to give kind of a Marvel history lesson, which is always fun.
Well, I mean, it's needed, and that this is the time that we need to start talking about what was actually going on, that we know behind the scenes and everything during this time, because it is very important to the story, and it brings a lot of things to context, which we'll also talk about, because I think that I know definitely in 60 I went on quite a few different rants in my breakdown.
Yeah.
So we'll if anyone needs to know the script for this, where we have our breakdown notes and our comments and stuff, it's 17 pages long.
Yeah, it's not. There's a lot. Listen, and some of it is literally I'm just letting Kelly like roll on some of this, because like Kelly's got so many great points. I'm like, I don't even know what I can add. I'm sitting there scrolling through it because I'm having to use my iPad, and I was like, these are all great points. She's nailing it. So
this is one of my favorite. It's one of my absolute favorite storylines of all time. To me, like, Marked for Death is one of those things that, like, if someone is just getting into comics or like wants to say like what's the greatest storyline of all of Marvel or whatever, I'd always say Marked for Death. But the thing is you really can't have Marked for Death without this storyline, Season of the Serpent.
Yeah.
So they go in tandem, and honestly, they're both amazing.
And this also, when I was looking at the time period too, totally takes me back. This was like me beginning to do stuff on Crawl Space as a message board poster. I was posting on the Spider-Girl and Spider-Man Alvaro boards, message boards, and I was getting very heavily into message board stuff back in the day.
I was 12.
I was 14, 15. Yeah, 14 or 15. So I was, and I was also still doing the Spidey Dude stuff. I was starting to take it over on doing more and more on my own too. So for me, this brings back a lot of memories. But as we've talked about, there's 2 key figures behind the scenes that everybody needs to kind of remember at this point in time: Bill Jemas and Joe Quesada. So they were tasked with, after the Toy Biz merger / acquisition, more or less, out of bankruptcy, they were tasked with turning things around on the comic line. So we already talked about the history of how Quesada became EIC and stuff. You can listen to prior episodes for that. But they were trying to streamline the Marvel line. And so they weren't just doing that with, trimming the fat of titles. They were also trying to streamline the way stories were being told. So basically, the editorial edict started to come down that they wanted everyone to adopt the 6-issue format because they were really, really investing at this point in time in the trade paperback market. Stuff we take for granted today was something pretty radical at the time. There had been trade paperbacks of stuff from the 90s, and you guys have seen some of my Clone Saga stuff on other shows. This point in time, they were really, really pressing into making comics more like graphic novels. And so you'll notice decompression across Marvel at the moment, especially when you look at the other Spider titles on the line. Well, a good example, ironically enough, the same month that we start in this, Zeb Wells' first Spider-Man work was published in Peter Parker Spider-Man 51 because Jenkins had stopped his run with Mark Buckingham on issue 50, and then he was going to go to Spectacular Spider-Man and relaunch that and start writing 6-issue stories, for example. This is also during the JMS era, so JMS was writing the 6-issue format too. So with that, multi-part stories have become the norm across the board, and so everybody's being asked to write for the trade. The one and done format was being phased out. Also, remember the JMS run had this mixed reception a little bit because some people loved it, some people hated it. Critics loved it a lot, and it made MAYDAY kind of this last vestige of the old Marvel in the Spider-Man line, particularly. They hoped that doing this 6-issue format with Spider-Girl would help drive the sales, and so everything kind of was building behind the scenes to this. So obviously DeFalco comes from a completely different school of thought where everybody's somebody's first issue. And so now we get the season of the Serpent. So with that history lesson out of the way, Kelly, she's going to do the first few issues, and then I'll three issues. I'll do the next 3, and then she's going to do issue 60 for the rundowns. So
yes.
All right, Kelly, it's all yours.
So Spider-Girl 54, classic cover with May holding a bazooka-like thing, and it's a Christmas issue. So info is the cover was from February 2003. Shelf date was December 4th, 2002. Tom DeFalco, Pat Olaf, Al Williamson, Eric Koh, reprinted in Spider-Girl Digest in 2009. Spider-Girl Digest 10 in 2009. So Season of the Serpent. So a week before Christmas, MAYDAY catches Santa, actually a gang of Santas, trying to rob a jewelry store. And it seems pretty routine. And Spider-Girl manages to subdue the Santas. As she tells her dad about the encounter, Peter goes on about how she should have called the police first and how she put the citizens at risk, though they were in the back room the whole time. So I think that they were safe, but I don't know. It's kind of become this normal bickering between the two when Mary Jane makes a painful noise out in the hall and they run to her aid. Mary Jane tells him that she's fine, and Peter asks May to start making dinner. While at school, Davida tries to comfort May and offers her an ear on the family stuff going on, and Brad and Moose invite them to come with them to visit Courtney, but May advises that she has homework she needs to finish. Brad tells her to blow off her homework so they can make plans for the holidays when Mayday's spider sense goes off, but not for danger, just some kind of trouble behind her. So she moves out of the way to see Ralphie Hicks running around with a mistletoe intended to kiss Davida and May. She sidesteps and Ralphie runs straight into Moose. Davida tells May to move because this is going to get ugly, be it Moose's pummeling Ralphie or Brad making things awkward. It doesn't help that JJ overhears this and tries to convince May that he's much better than Brad. So May gets out of there and suits up as Spider-Girl to find more sinister Santas when her mind is kind of stuck on her love life and the mess that it is. Brad wants to hang out, but JJ invited her to Christmas at the Jamesons, which she does consider because it might be worth the look on her dad's face. She wonders what superheroes do on the holidays, because she can't picture Dark Devil being very festive. And what is the etiquette? Like, do you send one card for all of the Fantastic Five, or can you just exchange presents with some of the Avengers? It's kind of a complicated situation. So May heads to the website and chats about Christmas plans with Normie wearing a green sweater. Normie advises he'll probably spend the day with his stepfather, Foggy, and advises that, they're working on getting along and have dinner once a week now. So Normie advises that when May was a baby, his mom used to celebrate the holidays at the Parker home and has good memories from it. And this is like my first sidestep rant, but I do want to point out that if you're reading along with us, the picture of the flashback is a little weird, because it looks like it's Peter, Harry, Liz, a short-haired MJ, and a toddler Normie. But Normie is 5.5 years older than May. And that definitely looks vastly older to be a 5-year-old for the Harry Harry or Normie situation with that hair. So and of course, didn't Harry die before May was born? I don't know. It's over the years, I think we've accepted it like a memory before May or something, but that isn't quite right. And ultimately, as I've stated before here, this is sort of kind of further proof that maybe the World 982 is not anywhere near World 616, the main continuity, as much as fans try to force it to be, because clearly, what's drawn and written is different than the 616. And of course, reminder, Daredevil is older than May. That's canon. You can go back to that episode to hear that. I'm not wrong in my lineage there. So just throwing that out there. That's another random weird thing that I saw that is vastly different than what we collectively pretend that it is for the history of the MC2. So, yeah. So anyway, May invites him over for Christmas, and Normie says he doesn't really want to put Peter in that position because it's still kind of uneasy, even if Normie and Mayday are friends. May goes to the Baxter building, skipping ahead. So anyway, at the Baxter building, Mary Jane is meeting with Reed for a checkup Peter has arranged because he's worried about her. Mary Jane keeps trying to say she's fine, but Reed sees otherwise in a test. Is the baby in danger? We don't know. So May is swinging through the city thinking about her crushes recently. With New Year's fast approaching, she's thinking that maybe she needs to settle on one guy and just go for him. Her dad tells her to trust her instincts, but wait, her spider sense is tingling like someone is packing a nuke. What is going on? So she drops her woe is me, love life thinking, and follows these men in trench coats that seem too slim to be a part of the Santas, but these guys can't be innocent. So May finds a slightly open window. Okay, it's an unlocked window. This is December in New York City, to see where these men are going and figure out what's kind of happening with these cheesy outfits that they're hiding in the trench coats. It's the soldiers of the Serpent. She sees their plans to blow up St. Patrick's Cathedral. May does what Peter told her to do and call 911, but they aren't as helpful as you'd think they'd be, because they have a lot of questions. So May knows she needs to wait for the cops to hopefully come, but curiosity is just another name for Spider-Girl. She jumps down and the Serpents hear her, so they come busting into the locker area warehouse to find her, and May finds the first thing she can get to, which is this huge assault weapon. Rocket launcher, nuke gun thing. I don't know. It's grim and gritty. There you go. So first the soldiers are shocked, but then start laughing because it takes an hour for the blaster to get warmed up. Not a problem for Spider-Girl, though, who just uses the big gun like a softball bat. The Serpent commander seems slightly impressed by Spider-Girl beating down the goons in seconds, but May can't really she's kind of offended by the nonchalantness, and it's making her spider sense go crazy. Like, what drew her here to begin with? It's going into overdrive. She needs to run before she can act. But before she can act, she gets hit by him hard, and he keeps at it. Her reflexes are just no match for his. How is this even possible? The police arrive just in time to see Snake Breath hold Spider-Girl up by the neck as he throws her like a rag doll into the police as a distraction to get away. The police question Spider-Girl and find the bombs and the plans to blow up the cathedral. But May grows tired of being questioned and ducks when she gets the chance. She knows her dad will freak, but this really shook her to the core because she thought she had this, and this guy just completely blew her away. She's still shaking as she swings away and knows she can't let her parents see her like this. She needs to chill out. Maybe she should change and hang out with Davita or Brad and shake this off. Or maybe, just maybe, she should trust those instincts. And I have "oh no" written like 15 times here. May is in full Spider-Girl gear as she knocks on a window. Someone wearing a green button-up, not a sweater, just pointing that out, opens the window and calls her Spider-Girl and says, "Hey, this is a surprise. Who could this be?" May takes off her mask and says she's had a weird night and she's been doing a lot of thinking. How long was she swinging around? Because I feel like it was maybe 20 minutes. 20 minutes of thinking, guys. And she needs to make a choice. And we see that it's Normie, and he's really concerned and freaked out, which I would be too. This is fair. He notices May looks a little freaked out about something. And I've written, "oh God, oh no." May tells Normie there's something she's been wanting to do for a long time now. "Oh God, oh no, no, no." Just reading off what I wrote. I'm not kidding. I have "oh no" written so many times here. And Normie asks, what does she have on her mind? What's going on? And May kisses Normie. Normie clearly is not expecting that. And that's the end for now.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas. Oh no. Oh no, no, no.
It's like the TikTok "oh no's."
Oh no.
Oh no.
So I'm gonna let you go with your thoughts.
Yeah. So because Kelly's gonna go on it for a little bit.
It's my thoughts for this is not that bad, but it's
okay.
Oh God,
so,
oh no.
Obviously, I'm going to address the monkey and the elephant in the room. I hate to say it, but this is cringe from a 2021 standpoint. But I also get it. May just had this trauma and is reactionary despite this. I get it from a storytelling standpoint. So I understand why they did it. Because May is, a teenage girl and she's reacting.
She's not even 16 yet. She's 15.
Right.
She literally just had what she feels is like a near-death experience because, like, you have to imagine, too, her spider sense is going off like there is a nuke.
Right.
And
something is
wrong. She couldn't even get away. So, like, this is...
Yeah.
It makes sense that she panicked and then did the first thing she thought of to comfort herself. It's just...
Yeah.
Oh God! Oh no!
By the way, this is also the last panel we'll see with word balloons.
Yes.
In there, because until like I think 80 in the 80s. So the next like almost 20 over 20 issues, because they're going up. Somebody mentioned about the I think it was Ryan talking about the cheesecake pinups covers. That was also that this will start the kind of the beginning of that where they were generic covers. They weren't like anything specific, story specific. This one being an exception. It's also one of the last stories in the Spider line that actually incorporates Christmas around the time Christmas was happening. This was kind of an annual tradition where Christmas was kind of this weird thing where you'd have all these Christmas stories, but they kind of take place, in similar days. And there was actually a I think it was a Peter David issue where there was like a homicidal Santa.
Yeah.
And then the 12th issue of Chris Yost's run, which came out also in December, also had Scarlet Spider fighting a bunch of Santas in Houston. So This is a bit of a trope in comics, but I loved it. I love when they incorporate Christmas because Christmas is my favorite time of year. So one of my favorite stories was DeFalco's X-Man crossover in ASM during the post Clone Saga era on his run on ASM. So it was one of my all-time favorite Christmas books. Plus, so there's I just like Christmas. The Grim and Gritty. Somebody talked about that
Well, that's
splash
also
page.
because your birthday is in December.
Right. So yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
my birthday's in December because it's Merry Christmas, Merry Birthmas, basically.
Yeah.
For me. So yeah. I the Grim and Gritty splash page. The whole her having the big gun on there. That was also kind of a tweak at Marvel's policy. Everything was kind of going grimdark.
There's a reason
So
I wrote that phrase in
yeah,
my notes.
and the fact that that Mayday is saying that on the page is like that's not Mayday saying it. That's the Falco, and I'm okay with it.
I mean, she said it. She did say it.
She did say it, but
Yeah.
through the mind of Tom DeFalco, like there was layers to that grim and
Look,
gritty.
it's not breaking the fourth wall, but it kind of is. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So again, love the story. Love the loves the introduction, the reintroduction of the Soldiers of the Serpent, and they've been kind of this thorn in everybody's side throughout the
Yeah.
MCU universe, on
Snake
and off. So
Nazis.
it, yeah, the Snake Nazis just
Snake Nazis.
continue to show up. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed the issue. Artwork is exceptional. I think this is yeah, I had forgotten until we started recapping this that Sal had done finishes on more finishes on
Sal does it on
Patchwork.
55.
That's right.
This is
Oh
Al.
yeah, this is Al. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I got it confused.
You're skipping.
I skipped ahead. I'm sorry.
Come on. All
I
right.
accidentally. But yes, Al Williamson's inks are always great. Pat's artwork is just absolutely really. They were truly at their peak at this point. So,
I mean, I agree
yeah.
on the art. I love the art. There's nothing to say negatively. I agree.
Yeah, go ahead,
think
Kelly.
for
Your thoughts.
54. Oh God. Oh no. Oh no. 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 Um. So I remember reading this. I was probably 11. And I was really excited for this because, like, I kind of wanted them to get together when I was a preteen, and thought cliches and stories were great. And it's weird, especially to read it now, because it's like, oh God, oh no, oh no, no, no. Especially like once you've been a teenager and you've been through stuff like that. Like, don't get me wrong. The boys, out of the boys she's crushing on, I think Normie's probably one of my favorites. The only one better is Franklin, and that's not kind of better because it's the same kind of age difference situation, and probably the same reason Franklin was like, nope. When we found out her age earlier, and there's also the whole fact that like Normie is with Brenda, and there was no consent involved in the situation whatsoever. I know Brenda's in jail, and we don't see that they've broken up, but we are reminded in the next issue that that's clearly they have not been broken up. So May messed up. And I appreciate the guts on May and like, hey, shoot your shot, kid, like do it. But again, more consent was probably needed because the vibe Normie was putting down, especially in this issue, is not didn't warrant this necessarily, but Normie wasn't expecting a kiss, and she's clearly just so in shock. Like I said, like she's super in shock, and she's not thinking clearly, and just, oh God, oh no, oh no, no, no. And we'll talk about this more too, because like we go all the way into 60, and there's some things in 60 that kind of come back to this between the two, but like, yeah, you get secondhand embarrassment really easily from that splash page.
Right.
especially
if
the
you're reading
older
in the
you get, and
digest.
yeah.
And then you just flip over, like you see the cover, and then you flip over, and it's like just a zoomed in version of the same.
Oh yeah, it's like
Yeah,
double, twice, because
you get
to
it
go
twice.
into 55, we pick up right where we left off. So I guess I should go ahead and do that. So Spider-Girl 55 cover is March 2003. It was on the shelf on January 2nd, 2003. And Tom DeFalco, Pat Olaf, Sal Buscema, Eric Coe, reprinted in Digest 10, and it's called Rising Storm. So we start off exactly where we left off. May is really kissing Normie, and Normie seems very shocked. That's not great.
I'm muted. Like I'm trying to mute. I'm just letting Kelly go and just let everything. I'm just If you see me in the background and I'm pantomiming,
I
I'm
mean,
laughing.
you could insert. You can insert your opinions here. But yeah, so like, not that May is really thinking about that though. Like she's going for it, and like nothing else matters except her kiss right now, and she's got some wild thoughts that we get to read that all right. To quote, she's tired of dating those immature high school boys. 19 is not that much mature. May, I'm sorry to say.
No, it's not.
They're not really. May has also decided to trust her instincts and settle down, and I wrote, whoa. Hold on, because this is just a kiss. Let's not rush into things. When Normie Osborn, the grandson of her father's greatest enemy. All right, I can't. But May is thinking about how she should have known that they'd always get together and live happily ever after. Again, this is just a kiss, and we clearly see Normie was not expecting this, so I don't know where she's going here. But 15-year-old girl. All right. They get together and live happily ever after when Normie pulls her off of him and asks her if she's gone crazy. Seems reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Normie, I'm like, dude, like your dad. He mentions that in a second, but yeah, like in his brain, he's like, listen,
whoa,
your dad already wants to kill me right now. My sheer existence is kind of complicated.
Yeah.
What are you doing, child?
Yeah. So May obviously panics, embarrassed because she misread things. Normie tells her that she's practically his kid sister and reminds her of their age gap. Her being 15 and him almost 20, like a 19-year-old who wants to be older says. Plus, he has a girlfriend, and Normie's worried about Peter killing him, even if he suspected anything between the two. But as Normie rants about knowing that he's probably overreacting and handling this wrong, May bolts before they can really talk this through. She is completely heartbroken and embarrassed about making this move, crying as she rushes home. She hears her mother crying as soon as she comes in. So all of her emotions immediately go to what's wrong. Peter tries to tell her that things are going to be fine, but May doesn't believe it and says that she used her spider sense to call him out and say that he's lying. I'm not sure if this is necessarily just her being a smart butt here, or if she can detect a lie with her spider sense. I don't think we ever really got that super established. But I guess it's just up to your all's headcanon. I kind of believe that she can a little bit, maybe. But that's just because I just want it. I like the way she uses her spider sense. I want it to be super cool and awesome. So Mary Jane advises that unless they have it just in their hearts to fight tonight, that it's time to stop treating May like a child and tell her the truth. So May spends the whole night barely sleeping about her lost childhood, which, okay, May, it was just a kiss. Slow down. Whoa. And about how her dad's irradiated blood is somehow complicating the pregnancy, aka DNA. It's irradiated DNA at this point. Um, but the F5 is working on a cure. While May is lost in thought, Davida calls her. While at school, May is lost in thought, and Davida calls her over to the group where Jimmy is passing out a sign-in sheet for a blood drive to help the hospital that Courtney is at. And she's recuperating from her accident, and Jimmy wants May to sign up. So while at the crime scene from last night, Phil and Pete are there, and Pete is annoyed and concerned about the fact that May didn't tell him about any of this, but he knows her mind was on other things. Phil thinks it's cool that May was able to handle herself against the Serpents, but still is worried like Peter is, especially when he hears that one of the chatty goons got caught and said that they had access to a real nuke. May sees May uses the cell phone that Normie made her to call him while she's at school, advising that they should really talk. Davida comes in looking for May and sees that she has a cell phone. Oh my goodness. Yay, cell phones. At first, Davida is excited and then gets really upset that she didn't know May had one sooner. May tells her to chill and that she just got it and it's only for emergencies. But Davida isn't really convinced since the phone rings. But it is just Peter. Pete tells May that he needs her to go to the Baxter building and pick up a possible antidote for her mother, and also that they need to talk about the Serpents when they can. Peter advises that he has to go and that Phil disappeared on him. That can't be good. So Phil is suiting up at the website, telling Normie about the nuclear bomb like it's the best thing ever because he's totally going to find it and it'll be good for his hero cred. And I have written here, Phil, it's a nuke. Seriously, it's a nuke.
He's like, oh, nuclear bomb, no problem. I can just waltz up and be like, yeah, I can handle this. And
all right, Phil.
Yeah, no, Phil.
Yeah.
Phil,
all right,
no.
Phil. Well, Phil, we know he's not always sane, so in any universe. So Normie Osborn, ever the logical one, reminds Phil to be careful because these guys have gone toe-to-toe with the Avengers, and Phil might be a little out of his depth. Phil then feels a little offended and feels like he has to do this because no one, not even Normie, respects him as the Green Goblin, and completely underestimates May in his spiel about this because he basically says, if Spider-Girl can take them, so can I. Cool. Great shade. Really respectful. Thanks, Phil.
Come on, Phil.
I literally wrote, I was like, rude. So Phil asks Normie if he's spoken to May today, and Normie advises that he hasn't and gets really sullen. Normie seems pretty lost in thought about this situation. And May suits up while thinking about the mess that she's put herself in. Between finally placating Davida about the phone situation, Normie is still ducking her. It seems like every guy she likes runs for cover. That's not true. She blew off JJ for Spider-Girl responsibilities, and Brad is pretty gung-ho about hanging out with her. She just doesn't want to. I get this is 15-year-old girl thoughts here, but again, people are lining up for May, and she's not seeing it.
Okay. Venkman has a great comment. Uncle Phil, we love you, but you're a few French fries short of a Happy Meal.
This is true. It's like, yeah. That's a nice way of putting it. So anyway, May thinks about how she's conned herself into thinking about Franklin Richards liked her, but that was only until Dad blabbed about her age. Although I'm actually pretty sure that Franklin did like you until he heard about your age, May. So
that is actually accurate, Mayday. That is
pretty sure he had a crush on you until he found out that that there's some legality issues there if he explored that option. Anyway, because my goodness, my rant. I was like, you'll get it when you're older and you realize how many older non-high school guys are predators. Also, that might be a note for 15-year-old me too.
Oh, no.
Yay, early 2000s.
I was gonna say too soon, but it's like,
no,
that got real.
Will, there's a lot of connection to just that time and how it did not age well.
No, I understand. God, if I could go punch my 15-year-old self, I would. Why? Because he's 15.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so anyway, May also thinks about the guys that are her age and how she can't get that to work out either, even though that really kind of seems like on her. But what was she thinking about Normie? How was she going to face him again? She knows she seriously messed up. So she gets her hopes up that Normie is calling when it's just Uncle Phil. Phil is trailing the Serpents but needs backup. May asks why he isn't calling the Warriors, and Phil says that they stopped taking his phone calls because he tends to cry wolf. That was fast. Phil advises he'll just handle this on her own, but May asks for his location. May meets at the dock and advises that they really should call the police, and Phil tells her about the bomb. May advises Phil to stand back and wait while she goes to find the bomb using her spider sense. May stealth crawls and swings her way onto the ship. Her spider sense is going off like crazy when she sees the commander talking to the goons, saying that the nuclear bomb was a decoy and starts talking about the real plan, but before we can hear what he says, May's cell phone goes off. And they hear it buzzing. Crap. So the goons start firing as she answers, it's Davida. Of course. Painting her nails, doing, normal girly stuff. And Davida wants May to watch Christina's new music video that's sleazier than the last. And here's my second rant for today. Because
I should be taking tally marks.
In light of recent situations with Britney Spears, Free Britney, and retrospective of the 2000 media glaze, again, this part did not age well. The music industry in Hollywood is really vile. The girls really didn't deserve the media narrative. I won't go full into that, but again, sleazy wasn't the right word for that, even though I do know it was of the time and of the time that would have been everywhere, because yes, Christina Aguilera did wear leather chaps and hot pants together and a bikini top, and she is known for wearing a scarf as a top on the red carpet. That did happen, but that was her prerogative,
right? But it's just, yeah, sometimes when you go back and you read things from and it's not just Spider-Girl. You can go back and read JMS comics, and there's comments there, and it's like, yeah, how did we tolerate some of the things tolerate?
But that's the thing. That was literally on the newsstands. Like that's
I
am not blaming anybody. I'm not blaming Tom or anybody a part of this issue whatsoever about the writing here. That was of the time.
Right.
And I totally take Davida as a slightly catty girl willing to tear other girls down to make herself feel better. So
not Davida.
No.
Never.
All right. But anyway, so again, it's a thing, but also because I can insert it here, Free Britney. She got her own lawyer yesterday. It was really cool.
Yeah, that was a huge thing. And because of listen, I normally I haven't paid attention to these type of things for the last several years, just because I've gotten so tired of like the celebrity like the culture of celebrityism. But because of you and a few other people on social media, I'm actually kind of paying attention to this news story because it's a
rights issue.
Yeah, and it's exactly. And when you pointed that out to me on social media, I went, oh, now I have to pay attention, because there's nothing that I personally like that will get me my blowtorches and pitchforks.
Well, I mean, the thing is that she shouldn't be under this anyway, but because people were able to exploit the lack of disability rights that we have. She's stuck here, and that's what this has brought to light, and it's tough to watch, but I think it's cathartic because we're finally seeing it.
Right, and exactly. And you know, and we literally we could spend another hour literally talking about the things that we both have seen and witnessed throughout the years that you just go, how is this acceptable?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I completely,
Yeah, wasn't meaning to totally derail us. It was just the
no,
comment was made, and I did want to point it out because we
right,
are in 2021 dealing with this. This is in the news all the time, and so I just wanted to point out that yes, there is this line. It did not age well. It's okay. It came from Davida, and I've talked about how I judge her and her life choices. So there you go. So anyway, um,
and Fitty, it is true. Early 2000s comics are the ones that always seem to have aged the worst because, like, if you read Ultimates now, it's so bad.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
Well,
yeah,
okay. The story itself is fine. Like this story is great. It's timeless.
yes,
There's just little lines here and there that's not appropriate because it was
right.
topical of the time because we've talked about the wibbly wobbly timey wimey of this comic and how like we'll even see it I think later on in this issue where we talk like Buffy was 15 years, well now it is been 15 years ago, but you know was 15 years from that, like from where they're talking about, but then Christina Aguilera's I guess in her 40s still making very sexy music videos, which you know she could if she wanted to.
Right.
I wouldn't knock it. Christina Aguilera is an amazing artist, but again, you know that's clearly not the case. So
She
it's
could
that
sing.
weird dichotomy of where it's like you have some new topical stuff, and then there's some stuff that's 15 years like in the past. It
Right.
it's a weird world. We just went through Loki. No spoilers, but it has been a few weeks, so I'm sure everyone understands now about the TVA being multiverse variants. This is a
Right.
variant of the 616
I,
world, and I keep
I
finding
would,
more and more that
yeah,
makes it different.
right. And I remember the Falco because that did get brought up. You know, this is supposed to be 15 years in the future. Okay, it's a alternate present, and you have to treat it that way.
Exactly.
It's not it's an alternate present where we're technically everything that happened from a certain point was 15 years ago, not today. So it's an alternate present. So you just treat if you treat it that way, then it completely everything works because everything's basically kind of sort of in real time. So
Exactly.
no, I
So
yeah,
yeah, it's a again. I like saying wibbly wobbly timey wimey because the
you're
points are
also a
made
Doctor
up.
Who fan.
The time is made up, and it doesn't matter.
Yes,
So
also my favorite. I love that show too, especially at
yeah.
this period of time. I was watching Whose Lines
Oh yeah.
anyway every week.
Obviously, of course. So all right.
Yes,
So back on track. Sorry about the rant. It does beat the wrestling rants, though. I'm sorry.
it's not. It's
Shots
not. You're
fired.
not
I know.
wrong.
I'm not wrong.
You're not wrong. I
I
love
heard.
my wrestling rants, but and they're fun. But yes, that is a little more on topic in terms of a rant. So
Just
I
slightly. All right.
acquiesce. Your flawless
Yeah.
victory, my lady.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So, sorry, I'm coming back up to it. All right. So, May tries to stay casual to make Davida happy, and Davida asks what she's watching because she hears the gunfire and all the noises in the background of the phone.
Explosions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so May tells her that it's just a typical everyday shoot 'em up, and she's actually bored. But her mom needs her, so bye. Davida isn't amused by it, but May's hung up. May's spider sense goes off again about the commander, who beats her to the ground really, really easily. Something is going on with this dude.
Right.
So meanwhile, Peter calls the Baxter building to find that Spider Girl hasn't made it to pick up her mother's medicine. Peter tries to call May, but she's in a bit of a predicament when we next see her because she's welded to an anchor upside down. Phil sees her and tries to come in to save the day while yelling like a maniac, so they definitely see him, and the commander uses his laser eyes to stop him from getting closer. The commander has laser eyes. So from May's sight, it looks like the commander has killed her uncle. May swears justice. Note how it's not vengeance. Here we go. Third rant. not vengeance or revenge, but justice for a family member being murdered. It's almost as, you know what, I'll save my snark for when we get to it, because snark is like a fine wine and it's better when it ages.
There you go.
So May swears justice, and the commander tells her to hold her breath as he throws her and the anchor she's welded to overboard. To be continued.
Oh man, what a classic cliffhanger! This is one of the best cliffhangers in the entire series. Just a great issue. I did not make as many notes on this as I should have, but I really like.
Your note is literally, "This is a classic cliffhanger." End of story.
I know. I forgot to scroll back up, and it's been I've had no days off. I literally got here last week, and I have not had a day off. So we've been working every day. So I've been trying to squeeze in all my notes like on my phone, and I'm using my thumbs. It's exactly like this too. For those that are watching the audio or listening to the audio version, you have no idea what thing I'm doing. But anyway, love the issue. I really like. I get where people would be a little upset at Peter, but I really like that MJ just steps up and says, "Hey, May needs to know what's going on." So for those that don't know, this happened before with May. Instead of seeing the Fantastic Five, they went and saw Secret Trainer. So there's a lot of parallelism going on here that longtime fans of Spider books would know, but you don't have to know that with Spider Girl. But yeah, so in the 616, there was significant issues due to the irradiated blood of Peter and Mary and the pregnancy with Mary Jane. So the fact that they were able to, that this is a plot point makes entire sense here. Also, I kind of have a theory, and I meant to put this in my notes, about if this cure might have made Benji's powers manifest sooner.
Okay, well, so I originally thought that, but then I also think too, Carnage bonding with him in Amazing, spoilers, sorry, we'll talk about it later. But
like long time, yeah.
With Carnage bonding with him, I also think sped things up a little bit.
Yeah, I think, or maybe it's a mixture of the two. You know,
yeah.
I mean, you could really probably argue both and have good, reasonable arguments. So every time Kelly goes,
we will get to.
Exactly. Every time Kelly goes on a rant, take a drink of water or your favorite non-alcoholic beverage of choice. Be responsible. No booze, Finkman says. I am drinking water. So, yeah.
Spindrift is in my cup.
I try not to take the drink of water until after so Kelly says something funny. So that way I don't do a spit take. But if I do a spit take, at least it's water. And I'll just do it this way.
There you go.
So
yeah, there you go. So so my thoughts on this is justice in all caps.
Okay, that I also think that's also DeFalco tweaking the editorial at Marvel.
Okay, but here's my thing. Maybe it's tweaking, but like when they were writing this, no one knew Spider-Verse was happening. Okay, that's not a thing.
Right.
But again, I'm sorry, Dan Slott gets so mad when people are like, I don't like this or I don't like that. Like we're personally offending him, but like it's so clear that him sitting here saying, "Oh, I'm a really big Spider-Girl fan. I've read every issue." No, you didn't, because if you did, you would have known this instead of the whole "I'm gonna kill you, revenge, revenge, revenge," because it's bad,
right.
It's horrible. One, like just in general of it just being flat, horrible, crappy storytelling. It also doesn't fit the character, because here's this right here, and this is literally my notes. Actually, I wasn't so mean and I didn't call people out like I just did, but I'm doing it.
Yeah. The notes. So like Kelly gives no cares now, so it's okay.
Well,
and I'm down for it.
It's more of like I have to rip the Band-Aid off and just say that. Like
right.
You know, I don't have to keep professional lines there. So.
This is your show, and you're going to do it your way. Damn it!
I mean, it's not like we want him on. So
I'm sorry. I should have not
Um,
laughed that way. Oh God.
Sorry, I feel bad. I'm trying my best not to be disrespectful, but the issue is that he's been disrespectful to fans,
Right.
and it makes me feel protective, especially the ones that like literally have done nothing wrong and have asked honest questions, and
Right.
he gets offended that easily. I That's my thing. I'm sorry. It's a whole, but anyway, all I'm going to say is this is one of her toughest fights. May is dealing with a bruised ego, a broken heart from rejection, and I know it's not her house blowing up and her parents dying, but when you're a kid and you really get rejected like this, like she and we'll get into this later, like her and Normie have very deep feelings for each other. Like regardless of love, friendship, etc. They feel very deeply connected and deeply care for one another. So for her to be rejected by him is devastating. And I know that I've had my heart completely torn out like that before too, although not necessarily for something that innocent, but in general, like, it hurts. Your life feels horrific. And now she's learning, she's got all this stuff going on at home. She knows she needs to be there for her mom. You know, her mom is sick, the baby might die. Like, there's all these things that are just piling on top of her. And she just saw a person she considers her uncle die to her. She doesn't know if he's alive, you know? And even in all of that anger and emotional turmoil and everything, she doesn't go, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to get revenge. No, she wants to bring the serpents to justice for the murder. That's my thing. That is what makes Mayday Spider-Girl. That's what makes her so important. Her back is against the wall. She's fighting the losing fight, but she's going to do what is right and what is fair and what is justice, not revenge. And, again, like I said, I was like, I want this said, recorded, because we will come back to this kind of conversation later, way later in the series. And I want it just very clearly noted that right here, like right in this scene, right in this issue, this is what you need to know about Mayday Parker and about Spider-Girl. And, I don't know. Like that was just a thing. And then of course, in my last parts of my notes, also free Britney. You're welcome. So yeah, I don't, that's my biggest like takeaway from this issue is because especially when we go into 56 and it really delves deep into exactly what makes her Spider-Girl, exactly what drives her. What we have wound up with in her most recent appearances is not Mayday, and it's very clearly set in this series right here. And that's why people get mad. And then, I can understand if certain creators are upset that fans are mad, but I don't think we're wrong in being disgruntled. When someone says that they know the character and that they've read the issues, did they?
It's a great point. It's a fantastic point. You can't. Okay, here's the difference, and I hate doing this, but you look at Nick Spencer when he says he read every issue of Amazing Spider-Man or every Spider-Man issue. You believe him because of what you see on the page.
He understood the assignment. I don't like.
Right.
Again, I'm not meaning to tear somebody down. I'm not bullying. I'm not anything. But I am disgruntled with how that got handled. And of course, we'll talk about it when we get to it. Probably talk about it more times than not whenever something comes back that could be directly referenced about it. But it's just
Absolutely.
It's just a thing. It's even though it was in 2014, it still stings in 2021. Mostly just because there is this appearance, especially like with the recent blog with Tom Brevoort, that makes it sound like, oh, the Spider-Girl fans are just nasty. They're just mean to be mean. And I don't think any of us are. I think we're very fair, to be honest. The issue is that they just don't like what we're saying because we're holding them accountable for their words and their actions. And the fact that, like, I'm sorry, maybe what you're saying and what you're doing is not necessarily the quality that a consistent quality. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I completely agree. Hi to Jesse in the comments. Also, Vigman says, "Preach, Kelly, preach." Yeah, absolutely. You got.
He wants the world to burn from.
Listen,
but like it'll burn me because I'm saying it. Like I know that everyone else is thinking it, but I'm the one saying it, so I'm gonna get the flag.
Yeah, it's fine. All right, so let's jump forward.
It's fine.
It's fine. We can take the arrows. We can handle ourselves. All right. You want to jump to 56?
I will. Let's go ahead and go. All right. So Spider-Girl 56 cover is March 2003. The shelf date. This was also in January 15th, 2003. 2 in 1 month.
Hey.
What are the odds? All right. So Tom DeFalco, Pat Olaf, Al Williamson, and Eric Coe reprinted in Digest 10. 3 minutes is the story title. So we start off at the bottom of the ocean where Spider-Girl is welded to an anchor. May at first tries not to panic. She can totally bust through this, but the bands are much too tight around her for her to get any leverage. But she can't give up. She can't accept any excuse from herself. People are counting on her to survive. She's thinking about Phil possibly dying or dead. You know, she could be his only hope, and she has to get out of here. She has to help him. She has to survive. Meanwhile, thankfully, Phil is okay. I mean, his arm might be dislocated or broken, but this knocks some sense into him finally, because he can't focus on that. Spider-Girl needs him. May is losing too much air when she tries to break free. She's getting cold and her head is spinning. She starts to get down on herself about her boy drama, claiming she's a screw up, that her dad never had any confidence in her, and that she thought, and knew she'd fail. And, well, to hell with him. A girl after my own heart, truly. So, yeah, fighter spirit. May thinks about how her mother needs the medicine she still needs to pick up, and how crushed Mary Jane would be if something happened to her. So would Peter, but she has something more to prove to him. She gives everything one more push, all she's got as the water grows colder, but she's not going to give up. She'll never meet her brother if she doesn't get out of this. She's got to show him the ropes to keep her dad off his back and show him everything to carry on the family business. This is the fuel she needs to finally get the metal bands to break, but no time to congratulate herself on getting free. She's still got to get to the surface and get some air. She starts to lose consciousness and things start to go black when she finally gets to the surface. She uses her web shooters to build a small raft, and she chastises herself for pulling this kind of stunt in the middle of winter, needing to find somewhere warm to rest, but she can't rest just yet. Her raft starts heading back to the boat. Phil calls Normie, advising the situation is critical, asking for him to call in the police and the new warriors. Normie asks if Spider-Girl is all right, and hearing Phil's grim response, he goes back to alerting the warriors with a very determined look on his face. A Serpent goon tells his master, commander, person thingy that he needs to get away, or that he needs to be in the getaway vehicle for safety. But this pompous, overly confident master doesn't fear the authorities and thinks nothing can stop him now. And in one of the most especially epically cool entrances ever, Spider-Girl is right behind him with I love this page where she is half shadowed, and it is badass. Like
this is May at like I remember seeing this before I read it in these issues, And I remember just going, dude, that's legit. Like that's
She is.
that is again when
It's
I
so
talk about how peak they were at this point. Uh
this is amazing.
yeah.
So she answers, "Wanna bet?" The serpent master starts laughing. He is very amused by this. He's so
Just like I
amused
was.
at how hard she is to kill, and he claims that she's earned the right to be killed by his hand. Now, apparently, after like what, twice, three times of
Yeah, yeah.
this crap.
Please.
So
Yeah.
Spider Girl is not here to play, and asks him if he really thinks he's man enough to kill her. So he takes off his mask to show his full face and advises his real name, Seth, the Serpent God of Death. Spider Girl feigns shock and advises unless he's Seth Green from Buffy, again, as we stated earlier, the weird wibbly wobbly timey wimey.
Right.
And advises that with a name and face like that, he must have been bullied in school. So she doesn't recognize his name, which bugs him, and
This
she's
this is
gonna make
this
fun of
is
him.
her father coming out in her.
But this, if you also notice, she just went through the ringer. She almost died. This has been harrowing last
Right.
48 hours for her,
Right.
in every sense of the word, and she's just this is very clearly a persona at this point. Like, this isn't just any part of her. This is her feigning confidence, but like, which is what Peter does. He quips when he's nervous and slightly afraid and adrenaline pumping, and
Right.
she antagonizes. That's fine.
She pokes the bear.
She
That's her
does.
mother in her though too. Her poking the bear is her mom. Let's be
Yes.
real.
Yeah, so this upsets Seth because how has she not heard about Seth, the serpent god of death? I don't know, dude. You're not that great. Sorry. Oh yeah. I was like, I don't know, man. Maybe normal people don't hang around QAnon forums off 8chan.
Ooh,
A goon comes
shots
in
fired.
demanding. Sorry, a goon comes in demanding Seth to get away now, as the boat has been taken over. Seth tells Spider Girl that he'll leave her until the next encounter and to consider it a gift. May tells him she isn't accepting that so easily and goes to try and get some blows to subdue him, but she's weak and tired. And I mean, she did just almost drown a few minutes ago. And as she keeps fighting, she starts to collapse from exhaustion. The new warriors are looking for Spider Girl, and Lady Hawk finds her. Phil comes rushing to May's side, happy to see that she's safe and alive, and May is relieved to see that Phil is okay too. Dark Devil asks if May saw the Serpent Leader, and May advises that she did, but he's long gone. She tried to subdue him but failed. Buzz, clearly not getting anything and not understanding exactly who Seth the Serpent God is, chastises her for telling her that, she's not in the right business if she can't handle a simple, like, Nazi snake. May is tired and doesn't really have time for it, so she says she needs to bounce. Dark Devil tells Buzz to shut up, which is well deserved after all of that.
That's like my favorite part of this issue is Dark Devil going, "Hey Buzz, shut up."
So at the Baxter building, May goes to pick up her mother's medicine and asks Franklin if he thinks he's in the right business. Franklin advises that he kind of always knew he'd do this since he's always been around it, and it's just the family business. But he does have some late night doubts. It doesn't stop him from answering the next call, though. And May thanks him for the friendly advice and starts thinking about how she messed up with Normie as she swings away. May gets home to Mary Jane being disgusted by how her suit smells and from her dip in the Hudson. She sees that MJ is worried and wants to ask a million questions, but instead, Mary Jane just asks her if she's all right and tells her to get out of the suit so her father doesn't worry and take a shower. May thinks about her day as she gets to her room. She almost drowned, could have frozen to death, or beaten to a pulp by a snake Nazi. She's wrecked her relationship with Normie. She was reckless and careless today. Is she really in the right business being Spider Girl? Her smile says it all.
Oh
The
yeah.
end for now.
All right. So I don't have a ton of things to say about this issue because I read Kelly's notes and I was like, yeah, you go, girl. Because like she nails it. But
Well, this is one of
I
my
would,
favorite issues ever.
yes,
Like,
and you're gonna explain that to everybody why this is. And I know you say that to about every issue, but it's this.
I do,
We've had
but
we've had multiple conversations specifically about this
yeah,
arc, so I already know this, but the audience doesn't know yet. So
yeah,
I'm going to say that there is one word to describe this entire issue, and it's the word grit. This is where you see the determination, this Parker strength in May coming out. And I just love the characterization that DeFalco brings to the characters. And we say it all the time that nobody could have probably written Spider Girl like DeFalco because he's forgotten more about Spider Man than most people will ever know. Don't tell him that to his face. He will deny it to you. Okay. But when Ron sits there and goes, "You're not wrong," uh, it's true. And so he just understands characterization. And this is when you see the just how a symphony in comic storytelling is orchestrated here, in how you just let the characters tell the story. And just especially when going back and reading through all these issues leading up to this, it's just a really incredible way of doing things. And just I can't compliment it enough. So Kelly, your thoughts.
yeah. So you literally took my first two sentences away from me about I love this issue. I say that every episode about every issue, but seriously.
My
So
bad. I'm
I
sorry.
no, you're fine. It's just funny. So yeah, I've never identified with a character so strongly ever, like in any kind of thing. And like I loved Kimberly from the Power Rangers, and still the moment I saw that Reebok made some Power Ranger shoes, I immediately bought the pink Power Ranger shoe. And then cried because I should have not spent that money on that. I've always liked Batgirl and etc. And I don't know, I saw something in Spider-Girl from the beginning that kept me reading here, but this was really the issue where I really identified with her as somebody that I wanted to be, as someone who doesn't give up, as someone who doesn't let everything weighing her down break her. And, you know, it's hard. The older you get, the more you understand why that is such a hard thing, because like you no longer have the arrogance of youth and the inexperience of life. And so like to read this as a 30-year-old, like, this issue is very teen slanted, as it shows, but life is hard and you aren't always sure of the right move or the right choice. You don't always know if your next showdown, against the next, against whatever you have going against you will be your last. But you have that inner strength to know to keep going, and to hell with any naysayers. You have to be there to help the next person not have it so hard. You have to keep going to blaze the trail.
Right.
And you have to make it because there is no other option. And it's one of the things that I've really loved about Spider-Girl. She does have self-doubt. We see her self-doubt. We literally see how her mind works, especially in these 100 issues where it's done in her, it's
Right.
narrated like her diary, like her inner mind.
Right.
You know, but everything she does doesn't break her. It doesn't kill her spirit. And she sticks to her guns always. It never keeps her from doing what she knows she needs to do, what is right and what is fair and what is justice. And this is the
Right.
issue to really show you who Spider-Girl, who May is, and what she's actually made of. And like you said, like grit and stuff, like tenaciousness. Like the thing is that you don't, when people say don't take no for an answer, they don't fully understand that it's not, always doors are going to close on you. You're going to try your hardest and still fail. But the point is that should never break you.
Right.
And that should never break your determination. And it might not be the right.
Bye, Ryan.
might not be the right timing. It might not be the right thing for you. It might not be the right person for you, because I know that there's some guys that seem to think that this kind of tenaciousness is great for girls. It's not. It's creepy. Stop. But it's
Right.
more of things you can try your best and things aren't always going to work out.
Right.
But what really makes your character and make you you is how you handle that. And here, like, Spider-Girl could have given up. Like, she couldn't get free. Um, Everything's kind of crashing down around her. And she could have easily just accepted death. But there, to say it, screw them, screw anybody that thinks that that's what she needs to do. She's not going down without a fight. And I think that that's also one of the things on why, like, I keep wanting to bring her to the zeitgeist as best as possible. And I'm
Right.
sure a lot of fans feel the same way, because May didn't give up. May never gives up. So why should we give her up? Like, why should we accept, oh, okay, Marvel doesn't really care about the character. Marvel doesn't really understand the character. Marvel wants to change what's fundamental about the character.
Man, this sounds oddly familiar. It's almost like what I'm saying is like, as a fan of a character like you are, like Ben Riley's that fan, right? Like that character
Okay,
for
Ben
me.
Riley's about to come back in a main book.
I
Hold
I,
your
I know,
horses.
but when they brought him back, it was character assassination across the board, and I completely
Can I just
understand.
say that I do have faith in Kelly Thompson, of all people, to at least not do
Uh,
that?
no, I'll tell you, of the 5 writers that are going to be writing, she is the one that I'm most intrigued to see what she does, because I think everything I've ever read of hers, I've enjoyed. So Zeb Wells, he's hit and miss. Ahmed Miles is good, but it's never been anything more than just good for me.
Well,
It's never,
we'll see.
but
They've got a whole team, and that's
scary as blank.
it's scary, but let's see.
Mhm. No, I get it, but
Yeah,
you're right. I mean, obviously they've brought back Ben. I'd love to see them do the same thing, like you were saying with Spider Girl, and that's why
I
that's why
don't.
this podcast. Well, I
Well, we'll get into that. It's
yeah,
I've lost a lot of faith
Mhm.
with Marvel, because I feel like the only way that they're going to bring her back, like they bring most female characters back, is to sell something and to promote something, and that's never the best characterization. You can always hear me talk about this more on Crawl Space Satellites, but
right,
it's just more of have a very negative opinion at this point. I'm very jaded and disgruntled
right,
about certain things with Marvel in terms of female representation, like true female representation in
right,
Spider Comics, particularly because it's getting better in X-Men, but it's not getting
right,
better across the board, especially
right.
when it comes to a Spider title. That's a different conversation. Um,
Oh boy,
in fact, we'll
yeah,
probably
yeah.
get into it when we have to talk about Mike Costa and Web Warriors. Remind me when we do that, though, to make sure I make the most greasiest plate of nachos ever. And I know I normally don't eat while we record, but I'm going to eat during that particular issue where I have a thing about what May said to Gwen. Because no.
Okay.
Anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
um,
All right. So we're jumping
sorry.
forward. No, no. I do want to highlight a comment that was made. Vickman says the anchor death trap was Mayday's buried in tons of rubble from Amazing 33, the final
Yes,
chapter moment.
it was.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
you know.
for sure.
And Feedy also says even Gwen, who is in an Oscar-winning movie, doesn't have a book right now. Ghost Spider also got
Yeah.
canceled. So, yeah. But
Well, I
okay.
mean,
So we're
a large part of how they handle uh, Gwen has a lot to do. with my negative opinions.
Uh,
So
absolutely.
anyway,
We'll definitely talk about that also, because trust me, you and I are on the same page because it's the most frustrating thing, and we may talk about it a little bit later when we start talking about Mark for Death too, as
yeah.
well.
Well, I think at this point it's going to start getting sprinkled in because these are some of the like, when people want to see really like what is Spider-Girl made of, like, like I think we've had a couple newer readers who have said, oh, hey, until this point, everything was really slow. I'm not really liking it. I don't really like Peter's characterization, blah, 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 because like they only know a
Right.
certain kind of story for Spider-Man. They only know a certain kind of thing of the Marvel way, which is kind of when this started changing here. And
Right.
so it's, no disrespect to them because I totally get it. And it is a matter of preference, but like these are the
Right.
stories that really stay with you. And like I made a joke on my social media about how the particular scene in that splash page of 54, lives rent free in my head for almost 18 years now. And it's true because these are the stories that stay with you because they have emotional resonance. It's very fast paced. The one good
And
thing
it's
about having the story arcs is you can kind of delve a slight bit deeper into emotional resonance, I
right.
think. And I think that that's kind of what we're getting at here, even though,
Right.
it is a little bit harder to kind of jump in the middle of the story.
So, um, yeah, I completely agree with that, and also it's refreshing to be able to look at a title that ran for a long time and got to be its own thing for a long time, and we don't see that in today's storytelling. The closest we've seen, truthfully, has been Immortal Hulk, and the most recent Venom run with Donny Cates, and Spencer Spider Man, and I think that's the first time we've really seen it, and it's been nice because before that, it's just like we run through these stories, and then whenever we get a new writer, we reboot, and it's just nice to see long form storytelling, and with a single writer that is talented enough to do it. Yeah, to go from there. So
Yeah. Well, now you get to do some breakdowns,
yes, it's my
but
turn. All right,
I did mention
Spider.
you needed to. I kind of wanted you to expand on your breakdown on this one, but that's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. So, uh, it's fine. Okay. So our issue. Okay. Spider Girl 57. Cover date of April 2003. Release date of February 5th, 2003. DeFalco is the writer. Ron Friends is the artist. That is notable for a reason. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Al Williamson is the inker here.
I mean,
Eric
I'm
Coe.
just excited because it's great art. I mean,
Yes,
I'm
this is
excited.
fantastic
There,
art.
there is no bad artist with Spider Girl. Just throwing that out there.
Really, there's not.
There's really
Call
not.
the Thunder is the name of this story. Wonder what that's in reference to. All right, so our issue opens with a splash page of Mayday trapped in the Avengers Mansion security protocols. Poor May. How many times has she been trapped in this? This is like the second or third time. So Jarvis shows
Okay,
up and he's like,
at this point, she's really just getting caught because it's just fun.
exactly.
It's like the
So
40X movie theater where the seats move. I did that
okay,
for Black
I
Widow. It
would.
was great. I love Black Widow the
Okay,
ride. Every Marvel movie needs to be that way.
okay, there's a part of me that wants to do that really, really bad, and then
Do
there's a
it.
part of me that well, hang on. There's a part of me that goes, "Oh God, will my motion sickness get the best of me, and I end up being miserable?"
Only one way to find out. You
Yeah,
should do it.
yeah. Black Widow was fantastic. I saw it. The guys, my cousin bought it on Disney Plus. Bought on Disney Plus, and we watched it. It's not the
I
same. I know.
well, no,
I'm
no.
going to go watch it.
Yeah. No, it's not that it's not the same. It's fine. It's a fine movie. I have a thing because I noticed an issue, like it's a production snafu
Oh no.
where I guess when they were resetting a scene, things don't line up properly, and it's something very minor that I don't think anyone would have noticed. It's just I noticed it, and then I couldn't like not stop thinking about it.
Not.
I'll wait
Yeah,
till
I
the
know.
majority of people have seen it before I like spoil that, but it's just so silly. It's so silly. It
Yeah.
makes no sense, but it's a thing that really is bugging me. Anyway.
All right. So, Mayday is here at the Avengers Mansion compound to see American Dream because she has got some info on Seth because she doesn't know who this character is. And so, if anybody's going to have the information she needs, it's going to either be the Fantastic Five or the Avengers. So, American Dream kind of gives the 411 in the fact that Seth was a villain of Thor, but particularly he became a big villain when it came to Thunderstrike. And you might have to correct me here, but I think Seth may have been indirectly or directly responsible for Thunderstrike's death. I can't
I
remember. I
believe
almost.
so. I wish that guy that does the Thunderstrike blog was listening in because he'd give us the answer. Or
He would.
if
I
Mr. Friends is on listening in, maybe he can give us the answer. But I'm pretty sure that that's what happened. I'm actually pretty sure that it gets
right
referenced either in this
later
issue or
on.
the
Yeah.
next issue. But
Okay. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I've only read through Thunderstrike once, and that was years ago. So I haven't. I'm
Yeah.
not refreshed. I'm sorry.
It's okay. So basically, Dream's like, yeah, he was a Thunderstrike villain, and she also briefly mentions the fact that they went to a different dimension, and that's where everybody's favorite MC2 Thunderstrike is. May is kind of cool, kind of geeked out in the fact that they went to another dimension. So American Dream offers the chance for them to, team
You
up
thought
and
it
go
was
together.
a vacation.
Yeah. Uh,
Poor May.
she did. Poor May. It's not a vacation. It's everything but. So she goes, listen, I got to do some stuff with my mom. So let me go handle that. So I'm gonna jump from the Avengers Mansion to the Fantastic Five headquarters at Five Freedoms Plaza. So obviously, Big Brain shows up and they start performing tests. And for the first time in real time, she gets to see like a 4D scan of her baby brother. So she's excited. She's like, he's gorgeous, mom, and Mary Jane, without missing a beat, goes, "I don't make ugly kids, dude. Come on now." So,
Doesn't say dude. Mary Jane doesn't say dude. That you're
that's true.
paraphrasing.
I'm paraphrasing. It's not actually a literal quote, but uh, that is a paraphrase. Yes. So Franklin then alerts Big Brain that there's something going on with the serpents. But MJ pretty much begs May, don't go. Let them handle this, just please, for her sake. So, she promises that she's not gonna jump into action. So what happens? 2 pages later, she jumps into action.
Oh,
So she here,
so really, she just goes, oh, okay, so I'll just hop dimensions with the Avengers.
yeah, I'll just go dimension hopping instead of dealing with the soldiers of the serpent.
No big
That's no in no way going to be any type of worse for me
Okay,
personally.
May's judgment just in this like episode where we're going like is just
Yeah.
yeah.
So police sirens start going. Police sirens start going off. She starts heading towards the danger. She's she finds out that it's in fact a speeder, and so she's kind of calling herself a drama queen. But then she's like, you know what? I'm going to go to the Avengers Mansion and help American Dream. So the two of them jump in to the fray when they are met with the thing with blockheads. Question mark?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean, they're like they're blockheads. It's really funny because like when I first saw that, I thought of them like the weird raptor guy, the like flesh colored raptor world from Fantastic Four.
Right. So we then see Jarvis with an eye patch because this is the other universe Jarvis. This is the same universe that we saw in issues 10 and 11 of ANEX. So for those that maybe not know, that's what this is all referencing. So um, May helps out in the fight. She uses her powers at various points, but then we see Thunderstrike. So we got American Dream, Thunderstrike, and Spider Girl, and Mayday uses her cleaning power to stick everybody to the ground. Thunderstrike starts picking them off, and just they become basically fish in a barrel. Um, American Dream and Thunderstrike embrace. Mayday's like, "I'll take off. I know the way." Blah blah blah. Jarvis is like, "That's not a good idea." And so she's outside, and she just sees a lot of this cruelty of this world, and she just she's really kind of a little bit out of her depth on this page. She then ends up coming back, and um, American Dream's like, we really blew it. We just thought that once we removed the problem, that everything would go back to being good, but it's really not that the case. So, um, so the door opens up, and May's spider sense goes off. They think they're going to be walking into a trap, and they start. You start seeing all these Herbie robots flying around, and Mayday's like, they all seem so familiar because that's when we're introduced to. Oh yes, the big on their world. You knew them as the Fantastic Five. Here, he's just Dr. Reed Richards, and he's the leader of a new team of the super team called the Fatal Force. You have the Brute,
The Fatal
Psy
Five. I don't
Slayer,
think they're called the Fatal
Fatal Five.
Force. That'd be
In
a cool.
the
That's a
trailer,
cool villain. That's a cool
yeah,
villain group. But I thought it was the Fatal Five.
they may be called the Fatal Five next. I think they're called the Fatal Five next issue, but according to this digest, they're
Fatal
called the
Force.
Fatal Force.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe
So
I
we got
misread.
yeah, Blowtorch, which is the Human Torch. Obviously Dr. Reed Richards, and then a guy called a mysterious man named the Spider, who looks just like Peter Parker? Question mark. To be continued. Da, da. And if I had the board, I would be doing the da, da, da. Yes, that
No.
is. That is. Yeah, May is faced with an evil doppelganger of Peter Parker. So,
Oh.
Kelly, your thoughts,
Yeah.
please.
So things I'm bringing up. One, I thought May learned. So there's a little line in the issue where I thought May, previously with the Super Skull,
Mhm.
she had learned that Reed's not actually like his brain isn't actually in Big Brain, but she
Right.
makes a reference of when she goes to the scan that she's creeped out by it because she thinks it's Reed's brain in the robot. So I'm like 100% sure she knows that. So that got me a little lost.
I think somebody forgot
I think
that
yeah,
happens. Yeah.
maybe it was intentional.
Yeah.
Maybe it was to trick us and to see if we would catch it.
Right.
And then two,
No prize for us.
yeah, no prize. So I love the banter between Shannon and Mayday. In fact, like when I was rereading this earlier last week, I even posted because another Mayday cosplayer and Sylvie stand-in for Loki. She's really cool. Brianna, my friend Brianna, I've called her my she is my Shannon. She is the American Dream to me because of
Oh.
her. She has a story that is similar to Shannon's, and I actually think too, with her being a model and being like 5'7", 5'8", that she could totally rock an American Dream costume if we could get the funds together to make it and make it awesome. Um, and so like the banter there was very reminiscent of like me and Brianna, and so like I had posted the things about it because they were like basically what was it? May is like, you can do all this, and like what can't you do? And Shannon's like, I can't sing, and May's like, me either. And they're just really cute. I just like
Yeah.
I like their banter. I like their friendship. I think it's really just cute. And I don't know, the thing about like May being with the Avengers, they've always treated her like an equal. No one really puts her down, except some of the
Right.
newer team members, which we'll get to that because it's funny at that point. But like, they
Right.
really do genuinely like her, and they want to help her. Like, there's no, there's no pomp and circumstance here. So that's kind of,
Right.
it's really good to see them play off of each other like that. Um, and then 3, God, the evil Baxter building is creepy. Evil Peter is disgustingly creepy, and I hate it.
So yeah, no, I completely agree with you on all these points. Most of my notes is actually apparently Vinkman's been peeking over my shoulder because Vinkman's been talking about some of the things I was going to bring up in my notes in the comments. So for me, and this issue and the next issue, both, this
Well,
feels like there's an
I
effort.
think Vinkman just was jumping ahead of us. I don't think he heard your
Yeah,
last line saying you were going to get into the history after.
yeah.
Yeah, it's okay.
So it's fine. This there really feels like this is the effort to wrap up the MC2. Uh, if I had the single issues with me, I think at this point the announcement of the cancellation may either be imminent or about to happen. I'm not entirely sure. We talked about this in episode 6, but it feels good to see the interaction with Dream and Mayday and other Jarvis. The FF is the Fatal Force is creepy. Love the bit with MJ. Definitely starting a wrap up process. Another great cliffhanger. Obviously, and this is what to reference what Minkman says. He says not to
Yeah.
steal your thunder, but this is the issue that Ron takes over as the main artist. So, yes, Ron's run officially begins with this issue. It's not supposed to be a run. It's just supposed to be, him filling in. This is a big deal, obviously. But so going back to episode 4 with our conversation that we had with Pat, he talked about how he got a gig called The Call, which was a book that came out, was going to come out and was supposed to be like a 3-year long book. And so Tom had already at this point gotten the notice that they're likely going to be canceled as of 61. So he told Pat, take the gig. Looks like it's going to be a great high profile gig for you. Don't sit there. But Pat is very loyal, and he wanted to, when he also found out that the book was being canceled, so he wanted to stay on. But Tom said, look, I know this schmuck named Ron over here that shares a studio with you. He'll do the last few issues and we'll move on. So he doesn't want to leave, obviously, but Ron comes in to wrap up the series, and I'll talk about that more when we get to the next issue. So, with that, we'll jump into issue 58, the review of that. Info is May of 2003, cover date March 5th, 2003. Exactly. I think exactly 1 month after the other issue. Tom the Falco, Ron Friends. Wait, nope, it was not.
No. I think it was. Yeah, I think it was. Yeah,
it was exactly 1 month after. Tom the Falco, Ron Friends, Al Williamson, Eric Coe. This is published in Digest number 10, and it is titled Daddy's Girl. May is frozen in place. We open with a big fight splash page. She's trying to process the fact that her father's evil doppelganger is here. She's ordered to find Thunderstrike's friends, quote unquote. We don't know who these friends are. Nope. May runs off and takes precautions. Not Pete, I've labeled them not Pete and not Franklin. So that's what they are to me. Not Pete and not Franklin are ordered by not Reed to prevent her from getting to the hospital.
They're variants. If we're gonna go with
they're variants.
Crap, they're variants.
Yeah. So variant Pete and variant Franklin, they catch up with May, who finds 2 hostages, Captain America and this universe's Thunderstrike, also known as Stormbreaker or Stormtrooper. Excuse me.
Yeah, Stormtrooper, like Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly. Fight begins to ensue. May then, so throughout this fight, she is, interacting with this doppelganger. And the doppelganger's like, I just want to dissect your brain, basically.
So creepy. He's so creepy.
You hate him.
I hate him. He's Why the title Daddy's Girl bugs me about this issue. all this.
So Variant Franklin's like, she's making an attempt to flee, and Variant Pete's like, yeah, and you're slow. So I think his actual name is the Spider. But don't worry, he's like, don't worry, she won't get far. That's when she stumbles into everything. So Franklin um, shows up, and because that she's found the hostages, Variant Pete's like, disregard my thing about physical, violence. So May is able to use her repelling power to incapacitate Franklin. So that shows me that Franklin may not be nearly as powerful as he is in the MC2. So Creepy Pete, which we should call him Creepy Pete.
Yeah, it's Creepy Pete. It's Creepy Pete. He doesn't even get Peter.
Creepy
it's
Pete.
just Creepy Pete.
Yeah, Creepy Pete is just, he's like, I wonder how you did that little stunt. And like almost literally twirling his mustache. She then asks about the family, and that she finds out that he took power over responsibility. And so, which is, again, complete opposite of Peter Parker. I mean, look, her asking this question is very clearly a mistake on May's part, and she does not know it until she actually asked it. So,
I mean, she's 15, and we've already established like these issues that we're going over today. There is some reasoning skills, I think, and it's just classic teenagerism. Like,
right,
she's not thinking things through.
Yeah, I agree. So, they're going back and forth, and they're having this discussion about the ethics of each other, and May is just trying to talk sense to him this entire fight, but May starts then going through in her brain and all these petty disagreements and the arguments they've been making over the last few months, and then she kind of comes to the realization that this guy's a fake and he's an insult to her father, and so she's just about going to end this now. So Creepy Pete jumps onto the wall. May shoots a web line, and when he jumps on the wall, she uses her magnetized power, sticks him on the wall like a magnet. He didn't know this, catches him completely off guard, and she's able to completely defeat him. Throws him into a bunch of machinery, and as he starts getting up, that's when we find that Stormtrooper and Captain America have been freed. So they make
she
very
totally
short
meant it
work
all along.
Exactly.
I like
Happy act.
Steve just assumes that she did it.
Steve just has that heart of gold that he's like, yeah, of course you meant to do that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Especially this version of Steve. So the three of them make very short work of both Franklin and Creepy Pete, not Franklin and Creepy Pete. So by the time they join back up,
he's just Frank.
Yeah, Frank and Creepy Pete. Yeah. Oh God. He's kind of creepy too, with the way they do the font too on the bubbles. And he has like dead soulless eyes.
Dazed Frank and Creepy Pete.
Dazed Frank and Creepy Pete. There you go.
These are the guys that sell you drugs in the alleyway.
There's
like the alleyway behind the skate park. These are the guys you don't want to meet.
Exactly. This is 100% true. So obviously, by the time they get back to American Dream and Thunderstrike, they've taken care of the rest of the not so fantastic five.
Thank you. Yeah.
And so they jump through the portal, they recalibrate the portal, and they get back. And who's there to meet them but Stinger? She's super happy, and he makes mention that he brought some backup. So Stormtrooper and Captain America are going to join in this fight. So Mainframe then informs May that there was a distress call that went out, and that the entire MC2 universe is here. You got the X people, you got the Fantastic Five, you've got Rena, you've got Dark Devil, you've got Nova for some reason, and of course you've got the X people as well. And I mentioned X people, and of course
you've said the X people like twice already. You're just counting twice. It's fine. Also, random note: somebody actually put Wild Thing in their fictional team the other day, and it was like just completely random with like heavy hitter 616, and I was like, holy crap, somebody actually knows Wild Thing other than MC2 fans. What?
That is weird. So of course, Nova is Nova, and he just cannot help himself. And he's like, "You're the one that let him get away twice." And she's like, "Shut up! I just
I
saved
mean,
Captain Freaking America."
he is named Richard, and he is a Richard.
Yes. My wife actually made a
So
shirt that said "Don't be a Richard."
yeah,
So
don't be a
and
Richard.
she wears it. Don't be a
Yes.
Richard. So make its phone call. It's Peter, and he is hot. He's like, "You get over here now. You got responsibilities, young lady." So she starts kind of reflecting on the fight when suddenly she's swinging around and she's kind of going, "Man, I shouldn't get this negative. This kind of maybe has affected my thought process a little bit more than I thought." When her spider sense just goes into overdrive, and it looks like that Avengers compound slash mansion is being enveloped by an invisible force field, and then we see Seth saying it's an entropy field created by his magic. So, he's like, never could I have dreamed that this had happened. And you enabled this plan to go along completely flawlessly. And now your death is next. To be continued. So, yeah, another great issue
Yes.
here. But Kelly, your thoughts?
I mean, all right. So the only thing I wrote in the notes was, "Ugh, I hate this world's Peter. Ugh." So I hate creepy Pete.
Yeah,
I hate Daisy Frank. Dazed Frank. I love this issue at the end, especially because we're getting set up for the big fight, the big Seth fight.
yeah,
But it's weird to think back on it, especially like as an adult, because like I distinctly remember like taking this issue and holding this issue and going to like stupid open call auditions for like New All That and etc. and stuff with like this issue in hand for something. And because I don't think it was for all that stuff. I just can't remember what it was, but I think like I was somewhere. It was something. But I remember having it. Um and I remember being excited for the next issue, but like kind of in
right.
hindsight and knowing the story behind it and being a little bit older, knowing that this was gearing up for what was expected to be May's final fight, it's a little sad. Um
Yeah, yeah, there is a sadness
yeah,
you
and
can have with
so
that.
it's like I don't really know how I feel about it other than like I can just focus on the fact that I hate creepy Pete. Um
No, I agree with you.
but yeah,
It
like I just it's
Yeah,
I'm excited to get to 59 because
yeah,
it's such an amazing issue and I'm glad that this sets it up like that, but I am just like I said, it's just like once you start thinking about it, and of course with us having to do this and reviewing it and trying to like pin the history and stuff, it starts to
right.
feel a little sad,
Yeah,
doesn't
this
it?
is
Like
this is
it
kind
really
of
does feel like a final
yeah,
fight. Like we are gearing up for the final fight. Like this is like
yeah.
the
We're
you
at
know,
the
like
where the game
the
was
end of the
supposed to end.
Arrowverse. Yeah, like
Yeah,
like this is like the end
yeah,
of the Arrowverse where like all the other spin-offs came together. That's what
exactly.
this feels like.
Exactly. It's a great point. Like what if Crisis was the actual final story? You know?
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So for me, obviously, Ron is back, and yay,
Yes.
Ron! He's here. He's back. Great, and I do love the fact that they brought in Ron to do this story.
Mhm.
The fact that Ron gets to draw this dichotomy and this parallelism between Pete, not it's creepy Pete and Pete, and so I love the dynamics of it. I love the structure of it. I love the fact that they're able to take a plot from A Next that they did, at this point 5 years ago, and able to bring it forth and make it a Spider Girl story. It's not an Avengers story. It's a Spider-Girl story, and they were able to bring that forward. So to bring that into this is awesome. They're killing two birds with one stone. They're wrapping up because again, this is the last vestige of the MC2. They're wrapping up a plot thread that was hanging out there for a long time. Hey, let's wrap that up. And it shows how good and the hive mind of Tom and Ron together work. So it's just a great issue. The dynamics, the way she uses her powers effectively, and how it throws off Creepy Pete is fantastic. It is a very good issue. Creepy Pete notwithstanding.
Yeah, well, I mean, and it does show how far she's come.
Absolutely.
So,
and yeah, between this and the next issue.
Yeah, exactly. And especially like because that wasn't her dad. And that Creepy Pete was not holding his punches, so to speak.
No.
And she was still able to take him down. So it is actually a callback, I think, to something in the annual about is May more powerful than Peter? Well, at this point, I would say to a certain extent, yes.
And we'll talk about that too, specifically with the fight of next issue. But yeah, I completely agree with you. I think that this is where you see Mayday come into her own, and it's like, oh my god, it's supposed to be the end. And for the fandom, when you think about it from that standpoint, they're like, oh my god, this is so great, and you're going to cancel it now. Again, they just kept thinking, the sales guys just kept thinking that it was going to go down, and it had this consistency, this consistent fan base that just was persistent, and they never dropped the book. The way they were the antithesis of the direct market. This should have been a mass market book, and we'll definitely talk about that when we get to Mark for Death in a much bigger thing, because I will talk a lot about the historical stuff, because this is around the time the Save Spider-Girl stuff starts.
Yes.
And let's jump to the final.
Let's jump to 59. Part. You get the conclusion, and I will take the aftermath.
Yeah, she gets the
it's fine.
prologue.
It's my look. 60 has my favorite cover ever that if I could have as a poster over this, which maybe I'll explain after we review 60 how I even got that.
Right.
But yeah, if I had to pick a poster of anything, I'd want the cover of 60.
Maybe somebody should get a commission made for some. Yeah, never.
I don't have
so
right now.
I don't know how much that would be. That commission rate would be massive. Okay, so let's talk Spider-Girl 60, Season of the Serpent, Part 6 of 6. It is sorry. I accidentally scrolled up.
Hey, I do it all the time.
All right, so June 2003.
That's why I honestly stopped reading my notes in because we do. So behind the scenes, we have a Google Doc that we both share, for every episode, and I have stopped using it. So then that way I can just remove what we've already talked about, so I don't get lost.
Right.
And I'm afraid if I ever do that with you, like on there, like it would be chaos.
All right, so Spider-Girl 59, June 2003, cover date April 2nd, not April 1st.
Nope.
Of 2003. That date is important. I will bring that up in a little bit. All right, so Tom DeFalco, Ron Friend, Sal Buscema, Eric Coe, printed in Digest 10. Proof of Life is the name of the issue. Also, there's a note that Kelly made, and this is a very big note, and I will talk about the reason why this was made. Issue went up from price from $225 to $299.
Now it stays $299 after this, and this was a huge price increase, I think, across the board at the time.
Yes, but Spider-Girl was the first, so it is notable because they were the first to get this price increase, and there was actually a sales reasoning why. So, and I forgot to put that in my notes, but I'm glad you had that in the notes too. So, all right, May is being chased by Seth, who continues to pursue her. Meanwhile, at home, Peter and MJ see the situation going on TV, but MJ goes into labor. This is a big deal.
No.
So, okay, all right. Let me go back. So we open with the opening
Mary
splash
Jane
page
goes
of
into
Mayday.
labor.
Yeah. Yeah, so the splash page opens.
Whoa.
May is getting abuse. Yeah, sorry, I went back. So we're kind of seeing the situation also with Avengers Mansion. And this is all interspersed. Right. Man, I am screwing this up. All right, so yeah.
No, you're fine. All right, take a deep breath. Shake it off. Shake it off.
Okay.
All right.
So, all right, starting over. Man, my bad. All right, so the issue opens with a big splash page of May getting hit across the bow. She is trying to get away from the situation, and we kind of also cut back to the Avengers, and they're trying to figure things out. J2 touches the force field, and it like all his life force is sucked out. So this is a big situation going on, and like Franklin can't even penetrate everything. So May is being pursued aggressively by Seth over several pages, and that's when we get to the situation where Pete and MJ see them at home. They're at home. They see the situation on the news. She's just flipping through channels, and this causes her water. This doesn't cause her water break, but at this exact moment, that's when her water breaks. Peter wants to go help May, but
she needed to be the most important.
Yeah, but Pete's like, I got to get you to the hospital. Like you're going into labor.
Sorry.
So May then goes to a construction site. So now we're caught up because I somehow glossed over like 3 or 4 pages, and I'm so sorry. So May takes them to a construction site.
I was more more like concerned with the words that got lost over.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
So no, you're good. So we're at a construction site where Seth, because May is trying to get them away from civilians, because obviously he's a big time baddie. So he picks up a freaking truck full of tires, throws it at May, tries to crush her, but May just continues to kind of try to flee. And then in probably one of the coolest versions of using her powers, she literally was using her ability to attract and repel powers to like do the whole like punching thing, like from I think of like Avengers Age of Ultron, where Tony's punching Hulk and he's like, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, or he's punching him with the Hulkbuster. Like that's what I'm kind of seeing. It's kind of like a cartoon. So then she kicks him into the clean burning fuel of propane. Sorry, Hank Hill. Yeah, so this causes a massive explosion because propane is highly combustible. So she thinks that she's like, this is not supposed to happen. You know, he was supposed to. She never saw the tanks. Like she's supposed to be the good guy, and so the building starts collapse on it, and then the entropy begins to unravel just at this particular time. So May is like combing through. She feels responsible for the situation. You know, she feels she's like, what will my dad say to the situation? And that's when Seth returns. So then we get a great page interspliced between MJ in labor at the hospital and May's fight. So Seth has her by the throat and he's smacking her around. He wants to hear her beg. And as you know, she's going through physical pain. MJ's going through the physical pain of labor. And she quips, he goes, I want you to plead for mercy. And she's like, can I get that in writing? No. And then in one of my all-time favorite splash pages, she goes, you never understood me, Seth. You never did. You might be able to bust me up, even kill me, but you'll never break my spirit. And just smacks him across the face. And that just infuriates Seth. He calls her an insect. You know, do you have any idea how much power I have? And then he pulls a Rita Repulsa and starts to grow in size, like Power Ranger style, and he becomes this
Rita
giant.
Doesn't grow. Rita makes her monsters grow.
Okay, mate. I was trying to bring that pun in, but thank you for correcting me.
Sorry.
No, you're right. You're correct. You are correct. So like May's like, oh, I hate to break it to you, but you kind of look ridiculous. Just as she says that, then he gets blasted by the full force of the MC2, and that's when the adrenaline starts to fail. May never lost her faith in the situation, but she's like, I'm just gonna take a little nap. Boom, cut to black. She awakens, and she's awoken by Johnny Storm, and everybody is talking about how great the battle was. In fact, it was one of Ben's favorite super battles. The Serpent, most of his soldiers are already in custody, and Stinger's like, we owe it all to you. And so Johnny takes her aside, says, hey, I know you got all these fans here, but we need to talk privately. I got a call from your father. Your mother's at the hospital. And so she literally runs. Johnny wants her to get checked out by the paramedics, but she's like, nope. Runs home, grabs a change of clothes, races to the medical center at Midtown Medical Center, where she finds Peter, who just looks distraught because he doesn't know what's going on with his daughter. And when May shows up, Peter is so relieved, and together they walk into the room. And yeah, MJ with the biggest beaming smile says, hey, hotshot, there's someone who can't wait to meet you. Meet Benjamin Richard Parker, aka Benji. And May holds him, and we end the issue with the three of them at the hospital. The end for now. All right. So, Kelly, your thoughts on this issue?
Well, hopefully you guys can hear me because the internet
I can hear you fine.
Started to crap out. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So, I've used the splash page where May kicks Seth in the groin a lot on social media about a lot of things. And
I didn't even notice
you might be able.
A groin shot.
Oh yeah, it is.
I didn't. Oh
she
yeah,
just
it
goes
is.
For
Holy
it.
crap! I didn't even notice
she just
that.
Goes for
okay.
It. Yeah, she just goes for it. I mean, look, she's fighting for her life here, so
yeah, that's true.
It's okay to fight a little dirty. So what she that quote has always resonated with me, which, like you also quoted, I'm going to quote the full thing, which is, you might be able to bust me up and even kill me, but you'll never be able to break my spirit. As long as I'm alive, I'll keep fighting. I'll keep trying to find a way to beat you. It's a callback to what I said earlier in 55. As most, I think know by now, and I think Zach can definitely attest to this. I am a relentless, persistent person. And I'm trying not to call myself crazy or annoying, but that's generally what I call myself, because I know that that's what's being said behind my back, and that's okay. I accept it.
I don't call you crazy. That's just no. You're not crazy. Stop it.
Well, you didn't say annoying.
You're not annoying either. I'm annoying. Okay, I know I'm annoying.
Okay, all right. But my thing is I won't say that I owe that necessarily to this comic or this character. This is just traits that I have. My parents have had to put up with me never giving up, never stopping, and never taking what I felt was wrong as a fact. And if I could find a way to fix things, save someone from bullying, do what's really fair, that's what I did. I tried. My parents encouraged it, and this comic storyline in particular, really shows something, that's being highlighted here. And like adulthood, boring, gross adulting can break you. It can suck your soul out of you if you let it. Not everyone gets things right the first time or figures everything out, and sometimes you can think things are super right and they're still not going to work out. Like I said it back at 55. It's really like, when it gets down to it, it's what are you going to do when nothing is going right? That's your character. And to me and to May, all you can do is keep fighting. When your back is against the wall, when everything's going wrong, the only thing you know to do is to fight, at least like inside of me. And I think that that's why I connect to Mayday so much, because I think she does the same. And, you know, you have to keep going. You don't let these things break your spirit and break who you are. And, you know, the will to keep going is probably the only reason I'm still alive at this point, considering how many times I've nearly died. And I wrote in the notes, because I thought we were going to do this last week, when I still had my busted lip and chin on the concrete, like the third time this year that I've almost died. But, you know, yeah, just keep fighting. Like, because the thing is what else can you do?
Right. I mean, dovetailing off of that, I never thought I'd be sitting in Nebraska doing this show. For the last year and a half, I've been unemployed, and so it's been tough. And let me tell you, there was times it darn near broke me. And Kelly can attest to some of the emotions that I've wrestled with. And you know, so I completely understand. And I really relate to May. And you just got to keep fighting. If times are bad, it is, you know, to use a biblical reference, it's just a season in life. And it's, you know, is it a bad day or a bad life? And you just got to keep moving forward. And because if you stop, then you will succumb to those, you know, because it's life's tough. And May in this situation was incredibly resilient. Uh, yeah. So you can't comment. You know, you can't say enough things. Speaking of the artist of the issue, hello, Ron Friends. Hello, sir.
Hey.
Um. Okay, so I do want to address the 225 versus 299. At this point, May was basically the trial balloon that they thought if they could bump the price up, maybe and they didn't see a decrease, that maybe that might help the finances and the financial side. Obviously, it was the trial balloon to see if people would tolerate buying a $3.99 or $2.99 comic. At this point, that was the highest comics had ever been. Now the comics are regularly $3.99, $4.99, even $8.99, $9.99 now. But this was a radical deal. This is the first time we'd seen this big of a price increase. And so, yeah, it was, the fans were kind of irritated, but you know what? They were like, fine, you know, this is not going to drive people away. And so, again, it is a landmark situation, and we again this art kind of felt like, okay, let's wrap things up. And Ron can maybe attest to that if he wants to in the comments. That's, and we'd love to hear his thoughts on it. But yeah, we're you know, at this point that, you know, the issue's going to end in a couple issues, and so yeah, it, in a way though, it might have helped save the title, that this increase ultimately, because the sales numbers didn't go down dramatically, ended up saving the book. So Kelly, do you want to move on to 60?
Well, one, can you guys hear me, or am I breaking up? Because I could not hear a single thing you said.
Oh no!
Yay, internet. Yeah.
All
right.
about the price
but if
increase.
you guys can hear me, yeah. If you guys can hear me, then I'm gonna try. If I drop, I drop, and I will try and get back on. Use my cell phone or something. All right.
And then right as she does that, she drops. Oh no. Oh my god. And then there she is. Okay.
All right.
Boy,
Am
you
I
couldn't
back?
have. Yes, you're back. You couldn't have timed that any better.
Up, so I'm probably still gonna drop, but
Okay.
let's
I'm gonna
try.
mute.
All right. Hmm? Sorry, guys. Sorry about the technical difficulties. Are
Yeah,
you
you're
muted?
good.
Or
I'm muted.
wrong?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead and go.
Okay. All right. So Spider-Girl 60. The cover date is July 2003. It came out May 7th, 2003. Tom DeFalco, Ron Friends, Al Williamson, and Eric Koh. And its title is called Legacy. So May's spent the last few days getting to know her baby brother, Benny. It says Benny. At the once and future Spider-Man, if May has anything to say about it. Mary Jane asks if May is going to school, and she figures she probably should, but the bruises still left by her encounter with Seth are very noticeable. So Mary Jane helps May with some makeup magic. May, thinking about her mom, has pretty much she kind of thinks like her mom's pretty much achieved this dream life after a not so great childhood, and heads down to the kitchen when she sees Peter looking at her torn costume. Uh-oh. Peter is just in awe that May really took on Seth one-on-one and survived. Technically, she's done this like 4 times now, but okay. May just advises she did what she was trained to do and followed her instincts. Peter says that he and Mary Jane need to talk to her about her future, and May doesn't think that sounds too great. May walks to school thinking about how she barely survived Seth and that maybe she will never have a handle on this spider responsibility. She thinks of the superwoman who came before her, if they've dealt with the doubts and insecurities, and how they might rank her performance. Like, how would they rank her performance so far? But to May, it's like she doesn't even have to ask herself this. She knows they'd judge her. She can't even find the courage to talk to Normie about the night he rejected her. She feels like she hears snickers from these women in the shadows. Davida greets May at her locker and notices how May's face is a little swollen. May says that she got into a collision with an inline messenger, and Davida comments on her bad luck. We see Moose getting teased about the blood drive, and Davida heads off to class, asking May she'll tell her all about it during the class. May goes to the restroom to touch up her makeup when a girl walks up and asks, "Your boyfriend or your father?" May is taken aback by the question and looks up to see her classmate, Sandra Healy, who immediately regrets saying that out loud. Sandra backs away, saying she'll mind her own business and forget that she said anything, when it dawns on May that the only reason Sandra might ask a question like that is if she's being abused. May thinks about how she can figure out what is going on with Sandra so she can help, when she gets an idea to ask the biggest flirt she knows, JJ. She finds out from JJ that Sandra is dating Howard Kavanaugh from the track team. Also, JJ asks May to date him again, and all right, May kind of brushes that off and walks away. May hangs out at the school bleachers to watch Howard, while Brad gets a bit jealous of May's questions about Howard to him. Brad is glad that they do have this chance to kind of talk, and he apologizes for being a jerk and wants to know if he has another shot at dating her. This is honestly the last thing May needs, since she really hasn't resolved things with Normie yet, and here go JJ and Brad wanting to date her again. May does exactly what I do, for better or worse, and just noped right out of that conversation, promising to make plans to talk later when she's ready to. Brad isn't super banking on that happening. May goes to Sandra and tries to get her to talk, but Sandra shuts it down. As a kid, I remember feeling Sandra being really rude here. But in hindsight, thinking back on future issues and also just of age and experience, really Sandra's being protective. And so rereading, I just want them to know that, like, she's not meaning to be rude. That's not how that should have come across. But I remember thinking that she was being. And let's see, because I'm not going to get into exactly what I went into a. I went into a rant. Well, it's a good rant, but it's not anything I think at the end of the day it needs to be said. But it's basically Sandra's clearly being abused, and the characterization is really realistic. in that situation because basically Sandra put her foot in her mouth because she thought she finally had somebody to confide in, and it's kind of like this subconscious way of asking for help, but Sandra's not really ready to admit that she needs help. And so right now, Sandra's in panic mode. She is spiraling because she thinks that like she's ruined it and it's all her fault. And it's always going to be her fault because that's what she's being conditioned to believe. Right. And it's, she's doing whatever she can to try and get this to go away so she's not in trouble. It just, I don't really know how to describe it other than like when you're in that situation, you really, it's almost like a cult like thinking, like you're brainwashed, but not entirely. It's just you're made to constantly feel like every little thing is your fault and you deserve all the punishment you get. And so for Sandra to know what came out of her mouth, this is devastating to her, and she's just trying to get May to leave her alone. So May goes to train with the Lady Hawks and figure it's, and they kind of figure May needs help with something. So they point blank ask her what's up, and May tells them how she's been working on this domestic abuse case. And so then they question why she'd come to them, to quote, "Oh, naturally, so you'd go to the Black House," which May has to slightly backtrack, explaining she went to them because they focus on street crimes. And they explain that they're twitchy about this because their parents got divorced because of domestic violence, and that's what split them apart. One went to live with their mother and the other went to live with their father, which, like, I get the parent trap aspect, but that's really cruel in hindsight, especially in this kind of abuse situation.
Absolutely.
So they learned that their father was a crime lord who clearly was training the daughter that he had custody of to become the new crime boss. Sorry, a fly literally went in my mouth.
Oh dear. I'm sorry. That's not good.
This has gone great.
No,
that stupid fly that's been flying this whole time, messing with me. Oh my God, that was.
He meant an end. The good news is you don't have to deal with it.
Oh God, that was horrible. I am Frogman. All right, we're rolling with it. It's fine. Barely hear you guys. I keep seeing that like the feed keeps crashing, so I'm gonna keep going. Oh my God, that was embarrassing, but all right. Anyway, so they, explained that their father was a crime lord who was clearly training the daughter that he had custody of to be a new crime boss. And when he died in a shootout, they learned that their father was connected to numerous murders, including the Falcons. Once the twins were reunited, they decided to use their father's fate to right his wrongs and make amends. The reason that they modeled their suits after the Falcon is one of these reasons. They give May some info for a women's shelter who might be able to help, but advised no one can help Sandra until she actually wants the help and is ready to admit it. May takes that to heart and goes to the shelter to talk about her friend, and the lady who helped her was nice, but didn't quite believe her story, which could you blame them? May is covered in bruises and not sure what May really meant about her having a healthy history with men in terms of a women's shelter, because from what I've seen, no one's really been abusive yet since we haven't gotten to Jean's bullcrap. But anyway, May isn't sure what she should do in this situation to help Sandra. It's a helpless kind of situation. May goes to visit Courtney in the hospital, who is still recovering from when the faces tried to run her over. And Courtney is excited because the doctors are promising to clear her and discharge her by the weekend, and Moose seems to be distant about it. May asks him what's up, and he explains that he has a fear of needles and blood and kept fainting at the blood drive. He went 5 times and tried to donate before they sent him home, but he just doesn't want to give up on this, and he really wants to help and do his part. He asked May if she's ever had something she just couldn't give up on, and May totally understands. The next day at school, May comes up and point blank asks Sandra if it's her boyfriend or her father. Sandra tries to protest to May's concerns and asks her to butt out of it when May advises she just wants Sandra to know she doesn't have to be alone in this. And when she's ready to talk, May will be there. We cut to what seems like Normie's point of view, even though it's in pink. In the past, when we've cut to different point of views, it has been in different colors, and this time it's not. I do just want to mention that. I don't know if that's a coloring error or what happened, but it is a thing. Anyway, so it's also in the second person, but it's also not May writing it. So I don't know what was happening here. Just throwing it out there, though. So Normie is walking to the website. He is lost in thought. He's thinking about his girlfriend being in prison and how they won't let him see her. He's thinking about May and how he tried to kill her a few times, just a few. But she was able to look beyond that and see the man he could become. That she responded to his hostility with kindness, and they became friends and, in a sense, crime-fighting partners, since he's her man in the chair. And what? He asks himself. How does Normie really feel about May? He knows he admires her and respects her, and he can admit he loves her, but he doesn't really know if he's in love with her. You know, up until now, he's avoided thinking about all this. Like, he's hid behind the fact that he's dating Raptor, you know, and of course, they're the very appropriate legal issue about their age difference. But he really can't hide it from himself anymore. He walks up the stairs and finds May in a shadowy silhouette. And he's surprised to see her and tells her that he's been meaning to call. May kind of cuts him off and says she needs to go first and apologize for kissing him and how wrong it was. May tells him that he was right and how she wasn't in the best emotional state and misinterpreted her feelings. She hopes that they can go back to the way things were because he's one of her best friends and she really counts on him. Normie is kind of speechless since he kind of just worked out a lot of that in his head, but he shakes off whatever's going on and smiles. He hugs her and kisses her forehead, telling May he'll always be there for her. May changes and walks home. She knows her relationship with Normie is still rocky-ish and, you know, might never return to normal. But she tried to fix things, and she isn't really sure if she got to Sandra. But hey, at least no one tried to kill her today yet. So it's a good day for your friendly neighborhood Spider-Girl. As she walks into the family home, her parents are waiting for her on the couch. Uh-oh. May advises that they wanted to talk to her about this last night, but she ran off to see Courtney, and then Davida dropped by, and May's like, yeah, well, tonight's also not great either. Can I go? Like, is this important? But Peter says that, you know, it can't wait, and he goes off into a spiel about how they never wanted May to follow Peter's footsteps, and that they've watched her, you know, from the start of all this to battling Seth, and it's helped her parents reach a decision. They hand May a wrapped gift box. May is thoroughly confused now, but hey, presents. So she opens it to find a brand new costume that isn't trashed. May asks if this means what she thinks it means, and that she has their approval to continue to be Spider-Girl. The family all hug, and Peter tells May how proud they are of her and how much they love her. May suits up in the new suit and checks in on her baby brother. She tells baby Benji that a wonderful life awaits him, and though it's not going to be easy, there are just some things you can't give up on. And off she swings around for the night. May thinks about how this might not be a Spider-Girl world. Excuse you, May. It's a Spider-Girl world for me. And she thinks about how, you know, she might not be known as a great superhero. And again, I wrote, excuse you. But hey, she's done pretty well and better than anyone could have imagined. And at least for now, the snickering has finally stopped. So the end for now. And that is the end of our recap for 60.
Yay.
So I'm going to let you go first. Originally, you were supposed to do this one. So I had my thoughts first, but since I took it over to help out, which is fine. Because again, I love this issue.
Yeah. So the issue is titled Legacy, and this was intended to be the end, for all intents and purposes. This was, yes, we were supposed to have a Coda issue. there was supposed to be an issue that took place, like, I think another 15 years in the future. And this issue, the end of this issue would tie into that, where it's May, talking to her brother, and we'd see her brother having a superhero story and seeing what the future held for May and the MC2. It was penciled, inked, and almost printed. In fact, I think there was a single copy that was printed. But once again, the issue, so the issue, the counts, the sales were stable. And even with the increase, it was here that fans started kind of gathering up online, and the Spider-Girl message board was kind of starting to really rally behind the book. And I think I'm almost positive that they announced this on the letters page, that it was being canceled, and then they mobilized. It wasn't quite to the scale that it would be later on. Trust me, cannot wait to tell that story when we get to it. But yeah, it was enough. And in terms of Moose being scared of his own blood and trying to donate, the last couple times I tried to donate blood, it's not ended well.
It's a fear of needles. Also, I mean, I'm anemic, so like I actually pass out anytime they do it, which is why I can't do it.
Right.
Also, that's a great excuse for the spiders to say you're anemic.
There you go.
It works. Just saying.
I've been told, like, the last 2 times that I tried, they're like, you just need to drink like a gallon of water and then show up, because I'm always not hydrated enough. So I mentioned April 2nd earlier at the last issue, so I have to talk about this story. So the book was supposed to be canceled, like I just mentioned. Tom gets a call the day before issue 59 is published, and gets told on April Fool's Day, of all days, that the book has been renewed and they need a plot by Monday. And so he hangs up on them, thinking it was a practical joke from the office. Gets another call. No, really, it's true. It took a call from Tom Brevoort himself saying, no, Tom, we really need a plot. And that plot becomes March for Death. And that is how March for Death went from being. And so you might have seen the image of, like, May kind of doing the whole shrug thing. It's like a reference to issue What If 105. That was the cover for the final issue 61.
Well, I mean,
that was never published.
You might you might not have the correct full story there, because it's in the comments.
Oh wait, it was only plotted 3 or 4 pages, penciled and inked, cover inked and colored. Okay, I thought the whole issue was done. Sorry, because I know I've seen I know the cover was inked and colored. So yes, that is true. Okay, so I wasn't 100% wrong. Thank you, Ron, for correcting me. For some reason, I thought the whole issue was done. So only 3 or 4 pages were done, but it was in the process of being completed. And then they got the call to scrap everything. So, but yeah, it's Spider-Girl and she's shrugging. That was the original cover for 61. And yeah, so that I would have loved to see the plot for that. Maybe. Oh,
okay. I mean,
a heart emoji.
Well, I mean,
thanks, Ron.
I don't know. I mean, I think just because, I've turned 30, it would be fun to check in with May at 30. Right. But that, especially at that time, I think that would have been like too old for me to really have connected to. So I'm very glad that the series got continued. I would have been very, like, this would have, like, if it got canceled at this point, my heart would have been very broken and very crushed. So I'm very glad, because I was 12 here. So my thoughts for 60 is, I wrote, I love this and I hate this and I love this. So again, as I stated earlier, this cover is iconic and needs to be a poster. It needs to be on everything. This is a fact. It's not an opinion. It's amazing. And using the other female superheroes, is clever. And looking back now, looking back now on it, May still kind of smokes them as the longest running title. So I would hope that they're not snickering anymore. And I love the Normie and Mayday scene. We kind of get this smooth over or the first confirmation of like, yeah, the feelings and signals weren't necessarily like all in May's head, but should that change anything? And it's just not the right timing, clearly, and they depend on their friendship too much to ruin it, so why complicate things further? And I the older I get, the more I appreciate that, because it's really, really easy to just take like the two characters and make that weird Romeo Juliet pairing there, and I think it's actually more beneficial in a storytelling sense, especially for a younger audience, to kind of see that not every cliche needs to be written. Does that make sense? Like it doesn't always have to happen. Things don't always work out like the quote unquote fairy tales and whatever, although Romeo and Juliet's a tragedy. So, you should avoid that at all costs. But yeah, so you know what I mean? Like I'm very grateful that that's the way it's written, even though like we'll see later on that like Normie does have feelings for her. Like none of the signal. That's the one thing that I think, like, May's convinced herself that everything is in her head, and no, Franklin had a crush on you. Normie's going through some things. I'm feeling some stuff, but he's making conscious choices about thinking things through. Right. And, that's kind of stuff that May needs to learn, is to think things through. And so it's just nice to see that part. I really like that part. But yeah, so I'm very glad that this wasn't the end. But I almost kind of hate that, because not like I hate that it ended, but like I hate that if this would have been like close to the ending about the snickering and about how this isn't a Spider-Girl world, I don't like that. Like it doesn't sit well with me. So I'm very glad that it's not the end.
Yeah, absolutely. To me, this would have been a great final, sort of final issue. But I'm glad it wasn't. And I'm glad that we got more out of it. Literally my collecting Spider-Girl regularly starts at literally 5 issues. I picked up Marked for Death Part 5, and that was from that point on, 65, all the way to the end of the current of this volume. All the way to the end of the book, I picked it up with regularity. So, it's a really good issue. I didn't mention this. I don't know if we mentioned this, but this is actually collected in the Marked for Death trade, not in the Season of the Serpent trade.
Yeah, I didn't read it. I didn't actually write in Digest 10 here. I don't think I even wrote a digest. So that's 11.
This is Digest 11. Yes.
Yeah.
So, So Marked for Death has this issue plus Marked for Death. So, yeah, again, I think that this book, just the testament to the creative storytelling, the way that this was going to kind of be an end, whereas you get the blessing of her parents, and you look back at Spider-Girl #1, and she's still sneaking out and making her own costume. So the kind of the way each issue worked, and obviously, Ron mentioned splash page. It's supposed to be kind of like a final. Yeah. Anytime you see a splash page at this point, it was supposed to be an ending. But I really, really enjoyed it. It's just a great issue. I'm glad that we kind of got this to check in on the people like Courtney. Courtney could have been a plot point dropped, but seeing Courtney and Moose and everybody, and just the Sandra thing.
She was in the hospital for a while.
Yeah, this was significant.
And I didn't even think. I didn't just to touch on it too. I didn't even think about the fact that she basically was in the hospital through Christmas.
Yeah, which sucks.
From like homecoming to Christmas.
That's several months.
Yeah.
Yikes. It's a long time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I it's really cool. Yeah, and so Vinkman mentions this in the comments. We've got 2 digests left until we start getting the issues that have still yet to be collected. So, we won't be able to say collected in anymore after not this episode, but the following few episodes. So, yeah, hopefully soon, fingers crossed. But yeah, no,
hopefully in the complete collection, but we got to get there first. And like we said earlier, this episode, even though Volume 4 seems to be on all these little trade websites saying that it's happening, the SKU number does not bring anything up right now. So cannot confirm until pre-orders happen.
So trust me when I say this. When it happens, we will let everybody know. We will scream it from the rooftops.
Yes.
Speaking of, if you have not ordered your copy of Ron Friends' new book, I think the cutoff's already passed, but if you see it on the shelf, pick it up. I got my copy reserved, so I'm excited to read that. Yes, so for me, okay, so we do have a couple of voicemails. I want to acknowledge this right quick. We do have a couple of voicemails, but I haven't been able to. I'm not going to be able to play.
Wait, we have a couple, not just one?
Yeah, he left 2. He left me one today.
Oh, okay.
So I will send those as soon as I can get to those sent to you, Kelly. I will send you to them so you can listen to them over. But I just don't have the ability to play them right now. Normally we play them, but I want Kelly to be able to hear it and everything.
Something out. Yeah, we'll work something out like next week, or like if we have to wait till you get home and have your soundboard, we'll do that.
So, but if you want to leave us a voicemail, obviously it's 818-925-6631. That is the voicemail line. So we will play them as soon as we have the ability to do that. So just wanted to make that comment because I don't want, but you can always, follow us on the social medias and leave us mail there too. But we did have an email at MAYDAY that was sent to us to makemymayday@gmail.com. Kelly, do you want me to read the email right quick?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So
you can read the email.
Okay. So it's from our good friend Vinkman. He says, "Hello, Kelly and Zach. Welcome back. We've all missed you, and we're glad to have you back for more thrilling adventures of Mayday Parker, the stunning, sensational Spider-Girl. I have a bit of a fan canon question for both of you. When most of us read the comics, we usually hear the voices of characters in our heads as we read along. To this day, whenever I read Fantastic Four or 5 comic or X-Men book, I always hear the voices from the 90s cartoons in my mind. I can't help it. It's a little more varied for me with Batman and Superman. In those cases, the voices depend on the era I'm reading from, ranging from the 60s show to the Batman and Superman animated series voice casts. When reading Spider-Girl, any MC2 comic for that matter, what voices do you hear in your heads? I'm going to take a guess that both of you have Christopher Daniel Barnes and Saratoga Ballantyne as Peter and MJ, respectively, since we're all from the 90s animated series generation. But what's some of the other characters, for including Mayday herself? I'm very interested to hear what answers you come up with. That's all for now. Take care, stay safe, and until Kane, in his absolutely magnificent mane, becomes a shampoo spokesperson, make mine Mayday." Sincerely, Vinkman. All right, Kelly, go ahead.
Yeah. I actually don't hear Miss Ballantyne as MJ. I don't really know who I hear, but it's not her. Like, the older I get, the more I actually hate the 90s characterization from the cartoon. It's just not Mary Jane.
Right.
And that's not on the voice actress. It's on the director and the writers for the cartoon, but it's kind of made it to the point where I don't hear that, because I separate cartoon MJ and movie MJ with comic MJ. So I don't really hear that. I just want to throw that out there, that I actually don't. I do hear Christopher Daniel Barnes. Yes, but that's because that's Christopher Daniel Barnes. I've actually never thought super seriously. My guess is, I guess if I had to choose for a voice, it would be a lot more in line to Mandy Moore for Mayday, but I think that's a lot to do with a lot of Mandy Moore's looks and hair, especially from 2002 and 2003, kind of pop up here going forward. It kind of crept into Mayday's style during the later half, I think it was because Mandy was a very, very well. She was definitely on the covers of everything at the time, like the How to Deal and what was the other movie she was in with her short hair? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Something,
something.
But I remember like How to Deal was the big one. But yeah, she was like on the teen magazines a lot during the early 2000s with that short hairstyle and certain 2000s fashion, like the red striped shirt that we will see in Marked for Death. That is definitely on the cover of How to Deal. Just gonna say that because it's definitely inspired. So like that kind of bled into me hearing Mayday. It had a lot to do with Mandy Moore. And I don't really know anything about any of the other characters for me. I did make a joke recently on Twitter because I'm totally sing show tunes with Mary Jane, and that's happening. And so I said that his singing voice had to be Jonathan Groff, aka he's from Glee. He's on Broadway. He was King George in Hamilton, and was the villain in Frozen. But but like I was just saying, like that has to be a singing voice. So I guess I'll say that that's his voice in my head for all intents and purposes. I don't know. I have voices, but I don't necessarily have them connected to a celebrity or anything in that manner, I guess. So it's weird. I just it's not something I've thought about. So all I do know is that all I have to say is that I will be thoroughly excited if we see Mayday in Into the Spider-Verse, and anybody that they get to do her voice is going to be amazing, and I have full confidence in them bringing her to life, and will definitely be better than me in Chi-Town's fan panel from which I am still sorry for. I did the best I could, as nervous as I was, because there's something about me always trying to sound like May that I cannot do. It's definitely not my voice in my head for her. I'll put it that way.
Right. So for me, because Vinkman said he guessed wrong about MJ, but he was spot on about Christopher Daniel Barnes. It kind of fluctuates on Spidey. It's either Christopher Daniel Barnes or
Christopher Daniel Barnes.
It's either Josh Keaton or Christopher Daniel Barnes. Yeah. I'm sorry, it just is.
Yeah.
It's because I've watched so much Spectacular for Spec Radio.
Yeah.
And so it, yeah, like I say, like I think when I read 90s Peter, and probably Peter specifically in Spider-Girl, I probably think more Christopher Daniel Barnes. But you know, for me, Vanessa Marshall tends to come out more with MJ because I got to interview her, and she's just such a really sweet person. And so after that, like I was already a fan of her as MJ, and then like going back and watching the shows over and over again, I really became a fan. So she's much more my MJ. Outside of that, I've never really had a voice for Mayday though, and I joked that I'm pretty sure now it's Kelly when I think about it.
No.
But you know, no. But no, I've never really thought about Mayday's voice. I just think of a female voice when I think about it. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I need to lose. I still have no matter how I talk, I still have that southern twang, and no.
I understand.
That's why, like, I think that's what makes me insecure about doing fan panels.
Yeah, which makes sense. We're not voice actors, so you know. Okay. But yeah, so final things. I think you've got something that was sent to us. We got fan mail sent to you, actually.
Vinkman sent me this doll, which I think I forgot to write in the podcast. So Vinkman, let me know what podcast. But basically, there's another podcast he listens to, and their daughter is making crocheted dolls, and so Vinkman asked her to make this one. It's really cool. She's got her hands in a whipping motion, which I think is like super neat. But yeah,
that's very.
I have now 2 homemade Spider-Girl dolls. So
One of a kind.
it's cool.
So
yeah.
Or two of a kind now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really cool. Thanks to
Yeah,
Makeman.
so thank you to thank spoiling us.
Yeah. Okay,
I think there's a delay. So I'm sorry for any weird awkward air, guys.
Yeah, there is a bit of a delay. So yeah, I guess we can start wrapping the episode up. I do want to mention our friends at patreon.com/Spidey Network, Vinkman, Scott, and Greg. Thank you guys for becoming our Patreon subscribers.
Greg!
Yeah, Greg became a Patreon subscriber. Speaking of Patreon, you can download these episodes early. Obviously, right now with all the equipment issues, they're not going to be as early as I want them to be, but as soon as you guys will get them before the rest of the general public. So this episode and last night's episode of Spidey Experience, you'll get those early. So yeah, if you want to leave us a voicemail, when we get to be able to play them. 818-925-6631 is the voicemail line. Yeah, so you can always leave us an email like Vinkman did at makeminemayday@gmail.com or SpideyDudeRadioNetwork@gmail.com. Be sure to follow Spider-Girl on Reddit at r/Spider-Girl. That community is really, really cool, really, really a lot of fun to interact with. I need to get on more. I just haven't had the time. But yeah, follow Kelly on Twitter at MakeMineMayday. And you can also... Yeah, that's where she has a lot of fun on Twitter. She's a fun Twitter follow. Trust me when I say this.
Lately I've been upset. And free Britney.
Yeah, free Britney. But Vinkman does say it's Chris and Cindy Franklin from the Byron Network podcast network, Shag Matthews podcast network, friend of the site. Their daughter made that Spider-Girl doll. So they host the House of Franklin Stein and the JLU cast. So yeah, so follow them on their go find those podcasts. They're good shows.
Of course, yeah, totally. Like this is awesome. So thank you guys. Thanks to Danny, I believe is the daughter's name, who made me this. It's awesome.
That was my sister's name, Danny. So okay, with that, we'll start beginning to wrap it up. Next time we get together, which I think we're good to get it. We can do this next week, right? We're good together.
I would hope so. I don't want to miss another week.
I don't want to miss another week either. So
look, we've discussed this. That was one of the things I was like, we need to at least establish that this was not on me, because I think at this point, every single time we've had to cancel, it's always like something crazy happens to me, but I am geared up and ready to go.
Yeah, we are geared up. So next week, 8 p.m. Eastern, July 22nd, 2021, we will be back here live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, taking your live comments as we review Marked for Death. We're going to complete the 11th digest. Marked for Death is going to be the next episode. So join us then. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. For our audio listeners, be sure to go check us out on Facebook at Spidey Network. The Instagram is the same, also at Spidey Dude Network as well. At Spidey Dude Radio is the official Twitter page for the Spidey Radio Network. Spidey-com is the website that powers our audio forms of the podcast. Thank you all for watching, and follow us and subscribe to us on YouTube. Be sure to give us a like, a share, and a subscribe. And we're almost to 100. I think we're 3 away now from 100 subscribers. Thank you all for those that subscribed. And we hope to see you guys next week here on Make Mine Mayday. We'll see you then, guys.
Bye, guys.
All right.